Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Quakecon 2019, where the Day of Doom is reaching its later stage moments, I guess you could say. It's going to be Doom 2016 up next. It's going to be ran by ByteMe. This is going to be our longest run of the day because, would you believe it, Doom 2016 is a bloody massive game. It's not going to be just me on the couch, as always, throughout the day, but we have a very special guest from id himself. Why don't you introduce yourself to the people?
My name's Mark Diaz. I'm a gameplay programmer at id Software.
And I believe this is one of your first times being on a stage, right?
Yeah, it is. I'm horrified right now.
How does it feel being? Well, I guess you actually already answered the question with "I'm horrified." I was going to say, how does it feel being on the opposite end of the camera? Yeah. But we've got Doom 2016 today. I know you guys are all working hard on Eternal, but how does it feel now to kind of reminisce and watch the previous game get, essentially broken down by the high-level community?
I mean, it's great. Having worked on it, seeing the game take on a life of its own once it got into the hands of the community, time sort of lost all meaning at that point, especially with regards to this game. So it's fun to look back on, and it doesn't seem like it's been as long as it has been, because we were always seeing fresh things come up in it, especially with speedrunners.
Yeah, I think it's almost crazy to think, right, how we refer to Doom 2016 as the old game, but in hindsight, 2016 really wasn't that long ago, especially when you factor, two of the fine gentlemen to my right, Blood Thunder and King Dime. Some of the games that you guys have been playing have been around for significantly longer than that. But 2016, what does this game mean to the two of you? Starting with Dime.
Well, both of us have actually speedrun Doom 2016 as well, so we spent tons of time on it, going through the casual playthrough. I remember getting to the very first arena and thinking, I have so much Doom experience. This is going to be a cinch. I got this. And then proceeded to die about 15 times to all the imps in that little room. So I kind of toned it down from there. And
what about you, PT?
Yeah, I mean, it was the jumping on point for me with Doom. It's I didn't really play the other ones growing up. So getting into it was a brand new experience. It's I play FPS games, but it's just a whole another level beyond anything else I'd played. And I remember when it came out, I streamed for 15 hours. I just played through it casually and immediately went into trying to find stuff to use for the route.
Yeah, so you've mentioned before that you've actually ran 2016 at a marathon, right? So when running a game like 2016, which is one of the longer Doom games, absolutely, what kind of mindset do you have to go into when you're doing a run for a game like this at a live event with a crowd?
Yeah, so ByteMe's doing 100%, which is a little different than the any percent that I ran way back then. So there's a lot of the crazy rail boost and glory kills. There's a little bit of that, but you still have to practice everything, and he's playing it on Nightmare, so it's a whole nother notch up from what I did. But he has to remember so much about where everything is on the map, making sure he collects everything, getting the combat rating, and just, hoping he doesn't forget one small detail.
I mean, that's always got to be the scary thing, is just there's a high scope for things to go wrong. And, I mean, you said it yourself, PT, right? Nightmare is the difficulty that's going to be ran, which anyone that's played Doom 2016, the Nightmare is no easy feat, let alone trying to beat the game as fast as possible. But I believe you have a little bit of a stacked screen, see what's up with ByteMe, and he's bringing this to the table. I know this is his first pretty much live event ever. But I know he's had some great success being a speedrunner here for Doom 2016 in particular. This guy's a family man. He's not by no stretch of the imagination is he a full-time speedrunner. I know he does Twitch, and he does stream, and he tries to make content, but whenever he has his immediate life priorities out of the way, he'll then focus on making sure that he'll just speedrun Doom because it's just a hobby of his. It's a passion that he really, really likes to do. But yeah, we'll see how 2016 works out. Have you played Nightmare on 2016? In your own game?
Oh yeah. I beat Nightmare on PS4 and on PC. Ultra Nightmare, I'll never do it. I need a little bit of forgiveness in my games.
I've seen those crazy runs where people do the pistol runs of Ultra Nightmare and stuff.
Yeah. In fact, we had an internal Ultra Nightmare tournament before we shipped.
Of course you did.
I did okay. I placed. We had everyone in the studio play on Ultra Nightmare, and whoever got the furthest, the top 10 people who made it the furthest would sit down and play in an actual tournament. And I made it pretty far. I made it to Foundry level and then died. And then when we sat down to play the actual tournament, I think I was 7th or so. We sat down to play the actual tournament, and I died in the first barrel in the first arena. The moment we started. I died so fast, other people hadn't even started yet. And I was
Just, I mean, look, it was fine because it meant that other people were able to rest easy. You brought a little bit of joy to someone else's life at the time.
yeah, I took pity on him, is what it was.
You're just giving him a chance, man. You just want to
For
make
sure.
it too unbalanced. So I've just
Exactly.
been told that ByteMe should actually be good to go. I believe we actually have you on comms. You there, bro?
Yes, I am.
So right before we jump in, you are one of our newer runners here, and this is one of your first live events, correct?
That is correct.
How are you feeling? Good?
Man, I'm feeling psyched.
All right, well, I don't want to waste any more of your time. If you're ready to go, I'll allow you to count us in, mate, and good luck.
All right, everyone, let's do this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so it's going to be Doom 2016. Currently, the most current Doom title, until Eternal kind of takes that mantle. But, I mean, there is so much visual, stunning stuff in this game, even down to this first cutscene. Rip and tear until it's done.
I know, it really just burns that symbol into you, just coming up, waking up, looking around like, hey, what the hell's going on?
So as we break out, it's crazy to think that on Nightmare, even the smallest room can kill you if you're not careful. But, you know, ByteMe, he's got so much experience. A lot of memory is required when the demons are going to spawn. And even the little dodges, you know, as far as we're in, it's the imps, right? Even the imps can be some of the scariest demons in this difficulty.
Well, if you check on Ultra Nightmare and you start analyzing like all the little helmets on the ground, like I think most of them are imps.
I'd say most of them are mine. Yeah, so I just did a nice little skip there. Typically when you pick up the pistol, he'll actually take a look at it after you clear the room. However, I continued firing, and that allowed me to go up to the switch once it was available, and I just interacted straight, bypassed it. So this is really one of the questions that I have regarding Doom 2016 is, why do we wake up naked?
Do you have an answer for that?
You'd have to ask Hugo. That'd be a Hugo question.
Too angry to wear clothes.
That's right.
They just slow him down, really.
I want to know how they got him naked after they trapped him underneath the temple.
Yeah, that's my question.
What demon had to do that job?
A dead demon.
Yeah.
So I guess this is some of the only, I guess, like downtime you would see in a 2016 run at the very, very beginning.
There's a small handful of segments that are like this, and I really love the cinematics behind this because Doom Guy at this point is like, all right, I'm done with this.
I've always thought that Samuel Hayden is one of the more interesting, like just visually and how he sounds. I've always been a massive fan of Samuel Hayden's voice.
Yeah, they did an amazing job for both him and Vega. Very, very memorable voice actors. Not to mention the lines that they got. That resolve.
Now this is foreshadowing. The moment it zooms in on him, it's like, yeah, this guy's going to be a problem. Watch out for him.
All right, I apologize. I'm going to need to take a quick moment. There is
Yeah, of course, no worries.
something weird with my bindings.
Take all the time you need for this. Now, while we do this actually for you two, how important are custom binding to a speedrun like this one?
I mean, it can depend on the runner. Like myself and ByteMe, we use ESDF for movement, so we have to completely rebind all the movement and anything that was associated with that. So like using melee, all that stuff has to be rebound. So if something's not right, then like if his move right key isn't bound to the proper thing, you know, that's a pretty big disadvantage. So definitely want to make sure everything's feeling buttery smooth.
Now, I know on Nightmare and even Ultra Nightmare runs, this room alone is not fun. If you're trying to go for the how far you can get. Like, man, I feel ready for it. You'll beat the entire game and feel ready in there. The game has other plans.
Of course, the beautiful thing about imps is they love running all over the place. So this is a very common theme that we'll see within a lot of these arenas. We try to prioritize them because if you let them go on their own, man, they just run around all day.
They just get exceptionally dangerous on the Nightmare difficulty because with the charge shot, they can deal, is it 100 or even a little
75
over?
points of damage. And the worst part about it is that they have a very low percentage to initiate a hit scan attack.
Here we go, the first big introduction. This is such a good moment.
This just sets the tone of Doom 2016 so well. It's always great to watch it.
You know, Doom guy really doesn't need to say anything at all. His actions speak for itself.
It's always been the marvel of the Slayer, right? It's just how he doesn't really need lines. He doesn't need a voice because it's so animation heavy, and the first person stuff is done so well that you can see everything you need to see. There we go, Doom, roll credits.
It's really, you catch little glimpses at his humanity in those moments through the first person, like when he's fist bumping the toy or when he's looking at the dead body while Samuel Hayden's talking about how this is all for the betterment of mankind.
Everything has clearly gotten out of hand as he glances towards a very dead dude. But now how important are these, like, remembering where their spawn locations are?
So the interesting thing about this particular arena is that the spawn for the possessed soldiers and the imps are actually random. I believe there's a small handful of potential spawns that you can have, but it'll vary up between attempts. And ideally, we try to avoid killing as many possessed soldiers as possible because, oh man, that was bad.
Oh.
This will be exceptional, though. We need them for health.
I feel like I'm not going to quite get used to being really nervous once we hit that 30 HP or lower.
Once you take any damage at all, it gets very scary. So even at 65, he's not completely safe from even getting one shot.
What would you say the reset percent is, ByteMe, on like just that first encounter?
Oh man, if you looked at levels by playtimes, UAC would appear to be the most popular level of them all. I'd say it's got a very, very high repeat ratio. Probably about 60% of your runs will end in UAC. So we're just going to be skipping through here. You notice I'm hopping a lot, and I'm doing that to reduce the amount of time that I'm on the ground because the geometry will actually slow you down. You can also use geometry to give yourself a boost if you time a jump properly when you're about to land on it. Unlike Quake, moving side to side or moving your mouse will actually slow you down. So it's actually better to just look forward and stay in the air.
Now, this run's going to be good because it gets to really expose just how many of those classic rooms I've missed.
Those levers are hidden exceptionally well. I think I found maybe one in my first playthrough.
I think the one I found was so out in the open it was impossible to miss, so I didn't even feel a sense of satisfaction. I was like, I thought that was a pity one.
Yeah.
Now, our first weapon upgrade. Now, these are very important, right?
Absolutely. So the order in which you get the weapon mods is going to greatly impact the way that this run is performed. We start out with the cluster strike grenade because it really feels like Foundry was designed in such a way to allow you to master that first. Based on the way that the imps spawn in and the number of them. Now, this trick that I'm performing right here, I've just hopped across, and jumping off the back of that minecart, I've actually jumped over a level trigger that is supposed to lock these doors, so I'm able to just glide through right to the end. Levels 1 and 2 are exceptional in that we don't have to worry about combat rating. So in certain arena fights where you can just run through. Doom Guy's all about getting to the point, getting to the stuff that matters. We'll leave the trash for later.
So on the subject of those combat ratings, like during development, how important was it to make sure that the combat rating was both balanced so that you could naturally progress and not feel like you're having to constantly backtrack to kill demons, but also in such a way that the bonuses were worth it all the time?
So they were iterating over those encounters like for a long time. Everything was fine-tuned extremely well, and in fact, Peter Sokol, who'll be out here later, he can speak way more to that than I can. Like, he did most of the design for that whole system, if I'm not mistaken.
See it get put to good use a couple of maps in, but it's our introduction to Vega. Now, Vega is such a cool little companion throughout the game, and for those unaware, didn't play the multiplayer, Vega was also the announcer for the game's multiplayer, which I really liked, actually. He had some really sick lines. Vega casually telling you in a deathmatch to kill everyone.
So one of the new techniques, or one of the new items that are introduced in level 2 are the optional mission challenges. So basically this introductory hallway, you notice I performed a series of different glory kills on the zombies, and that gave me the 5 unique glory kills necessary in order to get an extra combat point. So each level, starting with this one, will have a set of 3 challenges that you need to complete.
And I guess soon we'd be coming up here to the second lever with the second classic secret right here.
So I assume it's not really about experiencing the secret room, it's just finding it and then going about your business.
It's all very touch and go.
It's the thought that counts.
You know, they're very beautiful. I'd love to spend time to admire them. But unfortunately, I'm on a time crunch.
If you're curious as to why those levers take so long to pull, earlier in development we had certain rooms where that was an interruptible sequence. So if you were, you'd have to pull a lever to get to kind of progress in the level, and we would spawn demons around you, and you'd have to. We used that as a way to gate you going through the game. You had to kill all the demons in the room before you would even be able to pull the lever without being interrupted.
All right.
But we didn't ship with any of that. It doesn't sound fun.
Another of these very difficult early game fights. Do you skip the Gore Nest on that too?
Absolutely. So up ahead, there's the infamous Gore Nest of Truth, which is the name that we gave it within the community, because that was, aside from the intro UAC arena, was the make or break in many of the Ultra Nightmare runs. So, you know, one day I was really adamant about finding a way to bypass it, and I found it. So we're going to have to perform that jump twice, but sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. Scroll jumping definitely helps make that a lot easier. Would one of you mind describing the difference between a regular jump and a scroll jump?
Yeah, so if you just jump, you get some height, but if you keep scroll jumping, a lot of times you can bounce off of extra collision that usually you want to have time to, so you can kind of just hop a little bit further. And it helps out a lot with any percent, but it can be useful here too. And one little side note about the yellow keycard, you're supposed to pull it off a body, but because you got up there in a way you're not supposed to, the body didn't spawn in.
So I'm going to let myself get hit here, just because I need to be able to interact with the health station coming up for the codex. And if you have 100% health, then you have to wait. All right, here we go. We're going to go jump number 2 on this. All right.
Nice. Clean.
All right, so the next weapon upgrade that we're going to get is the stun bomb, which is an immensely useful weapon mod to have early on, especially for the shield guys, which are an extreme threat, especially if they sneak up on you. Those are something you definitely want to keep a lot of distance between yourself and those. So having a stun bomb when you know that they're going to be coming up, you know, allows you to break their shield and dispatch them rather effectively.
It's using the wrong weapon. If you tried to, say, use the heavy machine gun, it just wastes so much ammo, even if you do destroy it.
All right, so we got a nice little jog that we're going to take.
So I guess little tricks like that, right? Like tactically removing the imp from play entirely as you run past it, thanks to the stun of the plasma.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, if you leave imps to their own devices, you know, those plasma balls will find their way to your face. Never a fun time. So we're just going to take a short little pit stop here. I'm sure a lot of people who watch me will appreciate this because we haven't seen it in a long time. I miss you, buddy.
You know, I was so hyped when I found out that the Bethesda store sold those. I snapped one up without hesitation, and it's now in my office.
Man, I got to give me one of those.
You do, man. I recommend it. It even plays the noise and everything.
That's pretty baller.
That wasn't a plug, by the way. I did it myself. No one told me to say that.
When those first came out, we had Marty had a few of them on his desk, and he kind of floated the idea of hiding them around the office, and if anyone found them, they'd get to keep them.
That's amazing.
That's a brilliant idea.
They had
But
to
then
press the button.
no one would
though.
ever get any work done.
Yeah, that's true.
Spend so much time looking for it.
Okay, so typically we do a grenade jump, but we're going to take a safer strategy here. Sometimes it pans out, and it did not, but we have a backup for this as well. We're just going to continue scroll jumping until we make our way on this lip, and then we're going to climb right up here.
Are some of these movement tricks a little bit more tricky purely because you don't have the double jump at the moment?
Correct. And once again, you know, the height, that extra height that you get from the scroll jump just opens up so many routes. Now, one thing I want to point out is that I was unable to interact with that switch, and that's because the zombie that was in a glory killable state was actually blocking, ooh man, that was close, my ability to interact with it. All right, so we're going to get our first Praetor upgrade, something that's going to help us be a little more effective in combat, the ability to swap weapons.
That's the dangerous thing about nightmare runs, I suppose, is just how optimized would you say you need to be when it comes to the buffs you give yourself? You know, those bonuses and the weapon upgrades, do they all need to be very precise to make the run as safe as it can be?
Well, so there are definitely much safer approaches to take, but I'd say being efficient in combat is better than being defensive, because the faster you micromanage the demons and take them out of the fight, the better you'll perform in the long run. So we prioritize things like ammunition and the ability to rapidly swap weapons over health or armor and environmental safety.
Because I was checking out ByteMe stream sometime before Quakecon when he was practicing, and he made a simple mistake on the upgrades to forget the environmental damage, and he fired a rocket launcher and then blew himself up like 2 hours into the run, and it just ended right there.
You know, there were many signs that hinted that I forgot that. I just wasn't paying attention.
This is always the first thing I did with the bonuses, was just trying to be immune from barrels. I just got so fed up of either me breaking them or demons breaking them. I was like, man, I've had enough of this.
So there's a lot of neat stuff going on in these panels right now. And, you know, I got to speak to one of the developers. Interesting choice of numbers, but all these names over here in the possession report are actually id Software employees and developers that worked on Doom 2016. We also have a panel that shows a segment of the Advanced Research Complex. If you look here, these are where the two BFG testing rooms are at. In the center is where the BFG is stored.
Doom 2016 has so much attention to detail. Even this room right here where you see Samuel Hayden, is just, when I first saw this, I was like, man, just very visually impressive.
No, the dialogue that they have is really top-notch, and the first time through, you know, you're like, man, this guy, he sounds like really badass. But you don't want to listen to him because you're Doom guy, you know, you're going to do things your way.
Yeah, these moments are very bittersweet for runners because we love all the stuff that's going on, the visuals, the audio and stuff, but we're also still trapped in a room. And that's something we don't like. That's, sitting there kills us on the inside, but we get to see all this cool stuff, so it kind of makes up for it.
Any day the store will open for me.
Oh, it's not going to be the Doom 3 elevator again, is it?
That's a little faster.
So fun fact, that pit won't kill you if you fall down into it. All right, well, that's level 2 down. Heading on into Foundry.
Yeah,
This
so most of
is-
the time you kind of skip through the end screen because you just don't need to see it for any percent, but because he's doing 100%, he wants to make sure he's gotten everything. You really don't want to have to go back, do it all over again.
It would be a very unfortunate time loss. So this is the first level that actually introduces combat rating. And the way that combat rating works is that each demon type has a static numerical value attached to it. and each level has a number that you have to reach. So the more demons you kill, the more combat rating you get. Bigger demons contribute more to that. So later on in the levels, you'll see engaging in arena fights. You know, I'll have to be very delicate with the combat chess in order to avoid fast phasing certain arena fights, because you can go too fast and you can cheat yourself out of obtaining max combat rating if you're too efficient in that regard.
I just can't praise this level enough for the non-linear design and just every which way that you can go. So routing it takes a lot of effort. Just figuring out what you can optimize and where you can jump and go.
So when optimizing a level like this, what are kind of like the do's and don'ts? What's the first thing you kind of think about when you're trying to think, how fast can I beat a map like this? Like, what are the important factors?
Really, the important factors are, where are my weapon upgrades at? Where are my runes at? Which we don't have runes quite yet, but all that stuff is very delicate with regards to balancing. So you want to try to have the least distance covered while still being able to level those things up. It's a real delicate balancing act. And Foundry, along with Argent Facility and Argent Facility Destroyed, was, you know, one of those small handful of levels. Oh, I can't do that. Sorry, exploding combat shotgun grenades in your face in this mode is not very wise. I don't have time to go back for that health.
I suppose in Nightmare, those split seconds where you decide not to pick up health can be quite a risk.
Absolutely. High risk, high reward. At least that's what I tell myself.
Nah, I respect it.
So you notice I angled my view down a little bit, and that prevented me from actually mantling on to those crates.
So the main objective of this is we're taking out 3 different Gore Nests, so we can, is it activate the one in the blue door and then get to the final Foundry section?
Correct. In order to be able to get to that section, we have to eliminate all the Gore Nests that are currently up, because there is a lockdown that is in effect.
So, forgive the ignorant question, how did you just kill the Hell Knight without actually having to engage the cinematic or anything? Is that just using the chainsaw as he's jumping up?
No, I'm glad you asked. So, glory kills, you have to be able to snap to your enemy in a sense. So, certain animations that they perform do not have a snap point. And when they're vaulting over like that, if you touch them with the blade of your chainsaw, it will just consume the gas and instantly kill them. It's a really efficient way to dispatch enemies when they're spawning in like that.
That's interesting. That's actually a very similar mechanic in multiplayer with demons like the Baron or the Pinky that have slash animations. And they try and slash someone while they're airborne or stuck climbing a ledge. And will do the exact same thing and instantly take them out.
You know, really, I owe credit to Swansong for, you know, implementing fast weapon swapping within the single player mode. I'll never forget, you know, I was going for the multiplayer achievements, and I saw that multiplayer had those little badges, and, you know, I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Oh, there we go.
All right, there we go. Imagination hats are off.
Is that another one of those examples, I imagine? Through the wall. And shout out to Swansong, shout out to the new classic. Doing well in the BYOC tournaments for Doom 2016 as well.
Yeah, no, he's really an amazing guy, you know, and he helped me out a lot to get my first 30 kill streak badge. So, you know, I appreciate that. Appreciate him taking the time out to kind of show me what's up in the multiplayer scene. So you'll notice I'm really saving the imps for being able to get what I call ticks, which is progress towards weapon mods. did not get lucky. And so that'll be a common thing throughout the weapon mod progression. Is you'll hear me refer to ticks, and that's just it. Level 4 will see that for remote detonation.
So one of those for the combat shotgun would be hitting the direct shot for the grenade shot, right?
That is correct. Which I'm doing a terrible job of right now. There we go.
Should be another animation cancel coming up on the chainsaw. Like, you're just constantly trying to do that to save time at all points.
Oh man, Five Nights at Freddy moment.
Well, you can really see just how much time you can shave off in combat by going for that constant quick switch on your weapons.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can just melt enemies with high health, like the Hell Knights.
So often in 2016, it's more efficient to shoot, swap than it is to stick with like a plasma rifle or SSG constantly back to back.
Oh, definitely. And when we get to the later levels, after level 5, you'll see just how badly we're going to abuse weapon swapping.
Because you can do weapon swapping casually, but I'm sure ByteMe has routed out like every second of this how to actually do it efficiently instead of going to weaker weapons.
Yeah, people always think of speedrunning as like these giant skips that go over the whole game, but there's tons of little optimizations, like which weapon to swap to what time, what's better to kill out this Gore Nest. All that stuff gets factored in, so it's like, those big skips are cool and awesome, but there's so much more that goes into each and every run that you just really don't take, you take it for granted.
Yeah, and typically the movement is what's going to separate your record holder from second or third place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's just so many ways to save time. The route itself, like where you actually physically traverse the level, is a big deal, but equally important is how effective you are in the arena combat. So that's really where, you know, what mods are you maxing out? What runes are you equipping? What Praetor suit upgrades are you selecting first? All those factor into that. And really, you know, Doom 2016, it rewards aggressive combat generously.
I mean, so many of these rooms, I remember giving me trouble when I did my first ever playthrough. It's just an understanding of just, I don't really know what demons are worth taking out. And it is all that optimization of knowing what are the important targets to go for first.
Yeah, definitely. So your imps are going to be enemy number 1, and that's just because they're extremely mobile. And I've missed the guy right there. They have a really good job of tracking. You know, the faster you move, the less accurate the demons are going to be. But on Nightmare, they are insanely accurate. So you always have to constantly be on the move.
The PC ended up having a patch because when the game came out, is projectile monsters would only shoot straight, but then it got patched to add in leading shots. So the difficulties got harder later on.
I need to save this imp. I'm gonna regret this though. All right, here we go. Now I'm saving this guy because I need ammo. Because in the next level, I'm going to be working on mastering remote detonation on the rocket launcher. So by starting Argent Facility with no rockets, that really, really impacts the entirety of the run. I would say, you know, after Cluster Strike, remote detonation is the most important upgrade that you need to get for a weapon, just because it increases the radius of the explosion, it adds a damage over time, and when you master it, you get that and a regular rocket. So it's almost like the base damage of the rocket, if you just don't even use the mod at all, is increased significantly to the point where you could dispatch a Hell Knight or a Revenant, you know, with a single rocket and a single Gauss shot.
Now another one of those moments where it's wonderful visually, but you just want to move past it. And I feel like Olivia was just one of those villains that you just really liked hating her. So when the inevitable happened later in the game, it's like, yes.
She had it coming, man.
Oh, she really did.
You can't make deals with the devil and expect him to honor them.
Just to point it out, it says lockdown, but there's supposed to be different graphics there when she's doing stuff on the screen. It's the way we do it in the speedrun. It seems to get bugged out.
You know, we jokingly say that that's just her practicing pantomime. It's really a rarity when the UI shows up.
The system won't allow anyone but Olivia to override it now. We will have to shut down the Argent Tower now.
All right, and we're on to Argent Facility. So at the beginning of the stage, you know, I'll typically start out with a fancy grenade jump, but I don't have enough health to be able to do that. So we're gonna take the regular way and just climb the tower. Grenades on Nightmare, you know, they'll inflict anywhere from 70 to 90 points of damage to you, and they hurt. Everything hurts.
Olivia is using the tower to drill a doorway into their world. You can prevent her from opening the gate by disabling the tower induction filters.
So I really like the design. You know, it seems like the first 4 or 5 levels, they're always introducing something new to you. And in this level, they introduce runes. And runes, you can have up to 3 of them. You know, you start out only being able to equip 1, and then at some point you can equip 2, and then finally you'll max out with 3. But they allow such a wide variety of play styles to be viable. You know, and this first rune is Vacuum, which whenever you glory kill, or if you're at low health and you kill a demon that's far away and they drop a health pickup, it'll just come to you. You don't have to walk over it.
These little bonuses, quite often it was, some of these bonuses are a bit more relevant to the rune that you're trying to achieve. It's almost like a little bit of a taste over what kind of tactics you have to use to be able to use it properly when you finally get it after completing it.
And you can't oversee, like, routing the runes too. You would think, oh, you can just go into it and do it however you want, but it's very easy to die against, say, the imps in that example.
As you can see there, easy money after a while.
And there we go. You know, that's the beauty of the game itself. The longer you survive and the further you progress, the stronger you become. And so that's the first of 2 runes. We're going to see that up until Lazarus. You know, each level will have 2 secret runes that you can interact with, to where you can do a challenge like that and be awarded with a combat enhancing ability that you can slot. All right, so let's get us some ticks.
So Mark, how were the actual secret room, the rooms themselves, like, decided? Was it like each dev choosing their favorite area from the classic maps, or?
No, I believe they started out with our principal level designer made a few of them, and they just, as soon as everyone saw them, they loved them, and it became a thing that had to go in. I'm not sure where I wasn't super close to the design side of that part of the game, so I'm not sure how the decision got made, how to pepper them out, but there's one per level, and
Always a rebel.
yeah.
So explosions are very interesting, and you know, sometimes depending on where a rocket is detonated, a fellow demon can take the shrapnel, or a static object can block the explosion damage. So you'll see that from time to time. I almost want to say more often than not. It gets really tricky, and you have to be very delicate with the demon clusters. You have to really set them up in order to be able to master out the remote detonation mod in a timely manner.
And not only are the upgrades set up, but we have to start worrying about what some of the masteries, the main mastery too.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta become aware. You know, the rocket launcher, you know, can help you out, but it. Whoa, okay, buddy. Somebody's angry. You'll have to forgive me. There was a thought there. It's gone.
But we'd forgive you because you're a bit busy.
Oh dear, that's bad. Whoa.
So glory kills have different links for animation. Like, what are some of the fastest on certain monsters?
You know, the faster ones are typically the ones where, you know, you go and you punch them. You know, it's a single one and done. None of this fancy stuff where you're kicking their legs out from underneath them and then smashing their face on the ground or ripping off an arm to beat them with. I couldn't tell you offhand which ones are the fast ones to do because typically I will try to avoid them altogether.
Destroying the production of Argent energy isn't necessary.
It's one of the more memorable levels where you really, really make Samuel Hayden mad. Trying to get you to take things out carefully. It's like, man, you know who you're talking to, dude. It's not going to work that way.
Man, in all fairness, he did look.
He gave it a good go, and then he did the smart thing and went, nah, do that.
Oh, this is really bad. I've only got 2 ticks on remote detonation. Around here, this is where I would want to have like 3 or 4. So you'll see later on, like if remote detonation spills over into the later levels, it's going to impact my ability to master like my super shotgun and then ultimately my my Gauss cannon. So, you know, focusing those down and making sure that those are taken care of is really priority. And you can see, you know, just with the chaos and the variability of these arenas, it can be really difficult in something like an Ultra Nightmare run to carry those impacts long term. All right, so here's our second rune. This one's Dazed and Confused, which is a very interesting rune that will increase stagger time. Very beneficial, especially if you need to keep enemies stunned for a long time. You can just do damage to them, keep running through an arena, get them down enough, turn around, focus on something else. So it really takes the pressure off whenever you're engaging.
Nice.
That was really fast. That was good.
Thank you.
Almost like you've done it once or twice.
Maybe a few times.
I was struggling with that particular challenge at one point during development, and I got shamed because I was using a gamepad. And one of our directors came by and was like, "You have a mouse and keyboard right in front of you."
You relish the challenge. You know, the funny thing about using a gamepad in Doom is that, well, not necessarily in a single player, but in multiplayer, you didn't necessarily need to be a mouse and keyboard player because it was all about quick switch, who's faster on the draw in that respect, and close range loadouts that on a pad, you can be just as fast, if not a little bit faster with how quickly you can swap weapons and combinations. Other than that, it's just movement. So it's always interesting how this wasn't necessarily a game that you didn't need a mouse and keyboard to compete in it. Our free-for-all winner yesterday, actually, Bazooka Joey, won with the gamepad. I mean, just like that, hold on to him.
That's impressive.
He won it dominantly too. 50 frags versus the person underneath him, about 32, I believe. These were some of the best North American Doom players in the business, so definitely one hell of a tournament. Check out the Quakecon 2 VOD if you want to watch that one.
All right, I knew he was around there somewhere. All right, so we're going to be hopping around quite a bit, stepping on demons in order to work on mastering the Dazed and Confused rune. So, you know, along with managing your weapon mods, you also have rune progressions that you need to keep up with as well. So it's a real delicate balancing act. Once again, these things tie into the routes of the level because you have to maintain them and you have to consider them. Because some of these levels are just, they feel like they were developed to allow you to make serious progression towards certain things. And we've spent a long time trying to optimize, you know, which runes do we master where, how do we go about it. And even though I'd say we have, something that's fairly optimal, I'm of the firm belief that there's still a more optimal path lurking out there, and it's just going to take time and practice to find out which is which.
Demand breach detected.
I imagine there's always a little bit of an air of excitement where someone managed to optimize something significant enough that records can have some real time shaved off. It's almost like a little bit of a rat race to who can get that first new little part of a record.
Oh, it is, and it's extremely competitive. There are a lot of really talented people on, both sides of the house, obviously, but in the 100% community, there are people who spend a generous amount of time thinking about these things and offering up ideas and suggestions, and it's really awesome because the any percent side, the technical stuff that they deal with and their execution is a completely different skill set, but it is so impressive watching these guys, do what they do. And on the 100% side, it's kind of the opposite because it's more about the arena aspect and doing well on that. So, big shout outs to all the folks who are very passionate about doing those speed runs. All right, so we've got a lurker somewhere. There he is.
Always in the worst possible spot.
Wasn't an imp this time.
I think Samuel Hayden's just rage quit. He doesn't even talk to you after that one.
I always thought there was something really, I guess that was one of those chainsaw kills.
Oh, absolutely. The summoner, when it's coming up as well, it has its little fancy intro, and I counter it with my fancy insta-gib.
Now, the summoner, not necessarily in a speedrunning sense, can be used to try and farm some of your weapon challenges, I imagine, right?
There are better areas to do that. Like, there's one in here called the Botanics Room, which is this area up in the right, where you can kill a small handful of demons, jump out, and it'll basically reset them. The problem with summoners is, I guess if you're in a nightmare setting, it's very appropriate, but, things get really out of hand. Their attacks are very damaging, and the number of demons that come into a fight can really overwhelm you if you're not paying too much attention to them.
Yeah, and speaking about having a lot of enemies to deal with.
So, quick point on that. Demons don't go out of their way to target barrels. That doesn't mean that they can't hit them. If a demon attack does hit a barrel, I think you have roughly a second or a second and a half before it explodes. And in Nightmare, if you do not have environmental safety 1, it's pretty much going to result in death, as you just saw.
I feel like that's got to feel quite bad because it almost feels out of your control. Like, if they just so happen to hit a barrel, that's going to be all she wrote.
Oh yes, definitely. And there are some very hilarious instances that have occurred in the past, such as a possessed soldier kicking an explosive barrel into my face as I was firing a rocket. I mean, they get creative. All right, let's try this again.
So yeah, speaking about having a whole lot of monsters to deal with, I believe there's a cap of 12 monsters that the game can have on the screen at any time. So sometimes it'll feel like more just because there's more spawning in after you kill one. But,
Quick note about that Gore Nest that we just plugged. So that's actually an optional Gore Nest. It doesn't lock down anything, doesn't unlock any doors after you destroy it. So technically, you could exit the level, just ignoring it altogether. However, you'll notice that before I killed that Hell Knight that had been chasing me, I did not have full combat rating. So for the current route that we have, we'll typically plug it and run, and he'll follow after you, and you're able to dispatch him with the Berserk.
You have no idea what you have just done.
I felt genuinely bad when he said that to me on my first playthrough. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, dude.
He is a somewhat empathetic character. You kind of feel bad for him.
Very manipulative, evil man.
He's just doing what he thinks is right, guys.
That's it then. There's nothing else to be done.
All right.
Oh man, he rubs it in as well.
All right, on to Argent Tower. So this is the level that typically will make or break an Ultra Nightmare run, because this is the level that has probably one of the most difficult arena encounters, some of the most difficult platforming, and it's also the level that gives you the Gauss Cannon, which starts entering your way into what we call our alpha rotation, which is basically just cycling between a remote detonation rocket launcher, the Gauss Cannon, and the super shotgun.
All right, so that's actually loading into our next map. I've just been informed that, unfortunately, Mark, it's time to rotate out. But thank you so much for sitting. Hopefully, it's been an interesting experience for you, kind of just watching this live in the action on the other side of the camera. Any final words you want to say before we swap you out, mate?
No, thanks for having me. It's mesmerizing watching this. I will say I can't wait to go home and try some of this myself. Like you've changed my game. I've leveled up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you jumped into a Discord, though, there'd probably be people lining up to try and give you tech. So it'll probably be a very easy, accessible experience for you.
Let's do it.
Oh, absolutely. You know, please, I would love to have you as part of the Discord community. There's so many questions. I'd pick your brain for days.
Sure. Yeah, I'm down.
All right, crowd, can we give up for Mark, please? Before we go and swap them out. There you go. Cheers, man. All right. Now we're going to try and very seamlessly get the swap done. But here we go now. For the time being, back into some 2016. Oh, yeah, and the next Rune, of course. Perfect timing.
Absolutely. So Ammo Boost, along with Vacuum, are two of the 3 alpha runes that we're going to get. Ammo Boost, its primary function is to increase the value of the ammo pickups that you find throughout the levels. We don't necessarily care much about that because there's a rune later on in the game that will give you infinite ammo if you have a certain level of armor. Where Ammo Boost really shines is after it's mastered. Every demon has a small % chance of dropping a BFG round. So factor that in with the ability to pull ammo from basically halfway across the map and having infinite regular weapon ammunition, and you have a very powerful combo. So that rune trial too, you know, is very, very interesting. You have the reload upgrade, but you do not have the penetration upgrade. So you really have to, you know, line up your shots so that you can take advantage of killing multiple zombies at once. All right, so this is going to be our last ammo upgrade. Every upgrade from here on out is going to make us tankier, which will greatly increase our survivability. So this is, as I said, this is the level where everything starts to go downhill.
I know there are some, on this map, there are some pretty funky jumps you can do. I assume do we not really see those as much in the 100% run?
Well, so we won't be doing anything that relies on a rail boost, but you will be seeing some funky boosts, and I do believe that there's a lot of legacy tech that was developed by speedrunners like Seeker and Meta and Guacadile. So, you know, you'll see a lot of that coming up.
All right, so in live TV magic, we've made a switch. We've gone from Mark to Colin from id. Give you a bit of a mic test.
Hello, testing.
Hello,
I'm here.
hello. You're here with us
everybody.
now. It's as if nothing ever happened. So yeah, just quickly give the people at home job role and how it feels to be on that side of the camera here at Speedrun.
Oh, it's very exciting. I'm really happy to be here. Convenient timing. This is my favorite level in the game.
Perfect.
So I'm really excited for this, actually.
So what is it about the map that you love so much?
Okay, so there is a variety of directional movement. So you're going to move, obviously, forward across the bridge structure, and then you're going to go up in the tower. And that, to me, especially in the Spectrum of Doom, is just an exciting transition as we move through the game. I'm also a little nervous, first time on live camera. But yeah, no, I absolutely love this. And to see someone move through it so efficiently and straight to the point is very exciting.
I imagine this must always be quite a surreal experience for you guys, just kind of seeing what happens when...
Oh yeah, because like we're going to play through it, sorry for cutting you off.
No, fine.
But we're going to play through it our way, like either as developers or as fans, and because I've played through this level so much, like seeing someone else play it is always like this breath of fresh air, especially so efficiently and aggressively. And it's a different way to think about it, because you think about it one way and then you watch someone else play it, and it's very exciting.
So I want to point out real quick one thing that I'm doing. I am not firing aimlessly just for the hell of it. I'm actually draining my ammo. Since I have ammo boost now, I want to be able to maximize that efficiently. So whenever you have low ammo and you interact with an ammo crate, it'll give you more ammunition. So we try to drain as many weapons as we can, although our window to do so is quite limited here in the beginning of the game. You'll also notice something really quick, very, very subtle. I'm instantly swapping my weapon mods. There is a piece of tech that you can use due to the way that post delays and weapon animation priorities are within Doom 2016. You can initiate a weapon mod and then immediately swap to a different weapon. And because it is honored up front, you can swap back to it and you'll have a different mod equipped. So it's a really fast way to just swap over to something for the occasion.
Almost seems like a further evolution of just how important weapon switching is in this game in general. Now, I know on this map, on my very first playthrough, I got stuck here. I just couldn't figure out where I was supposed to go when you're going down those little sideway tubes.
It's actually part of the reason why I love this level, is just, again, the variety. Oh, I love this. I'm going to stop so we can see this.
But that's what I love. Every demon, because it had been so long since we've seen Doom, every kind of demon everyone remembers had its little time to shine in the form of a sick intro.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And this was a danger room for a lot of people that played it first time. There's so many demons in this room that can easily catch it. Even right now, like one hit from a Maculus.
As arenas go, this is definitely one of my favorite again. I mean, I'm a little biased already, being my favorite level, but this is such a, oh my goodness.
Yeah, we've had enough time with it, so we're going to do the banana skip where we just jump past it.
That was amazing.
If you're wondering why it's called banana skip, it's because the giant yellow things in the room resemble bananas.
That's dope.
Doing that skip from, those that have played this map before, that's got to save a significant amount of time.
Absolutely. It is kind of tricky too, because that particular jump, you have to take advantage of some geometry in order to reset your natural jump. So sometimes it doesn't play nice, and I'm very thankful that it did this time around.
Yeah, because even after the skip, you can see just how much you're still having to climb. It's by no means over, and now you have an entire new area you've got to now try and fight through.
This is really cool to watch.
Just optimization, isn't it? It's just understanding what demons are the most important to take out first. And what I'm really happy here that ByteMe's doing, it is very, very methodical weapon switching. Like, very rarely is he kind of swapping to a weapon out of desperation. Hey, I've got to just try and get some more damage. Like, he knows he wants to go shotgun, he wants to go rocket. That's your multiplayer routes, mate. Working out shotgun and rocket together.
Also, just to hear someone that worked on the game saying how much they enjoyed watching our speedruns, that we put hours and hours of work and research into it, is like the biggest compliment we could ever get.
Absolutely.
It's just really awesome to watch.
You beat the fight way too fast, ByteMe. I was listening to the soundtrack.
I'm sorry,
Another
Gordon.
reason why I love this level.
All right, so here goes our first health upgrade. A little interesting note is that because I had previously maxed out ammunition on there, my cursor is actually left on the ammunition upgrade slot. So I have to go a different direction on the mouse pad in order to be able to navigate back to the health, which when you're interacting with an Argent cell upgrade is typically, defaulted to the leftmost, oh man, I'm on ice, item, which is the health upgrade. But in this particular level, it is stuck on the ammo based on the way that I upgrade my Praetor suit.
You gotta be careful when you're doing jumps and you have moving objects, because you can just like suddenly slip off.
So I imagine you're using the time it's going to take now to just make sure you use as much ammo as possible.
Absolutely, we got a weapon crate coming up, and I want to make sure that I get as much progress because I'm going to be acquiring my 4th rune up ahead, and once you hit 4 runes, you're able to equip 2 of them at once.
That was a trick I actually discovered like way back when this game came out. That just reminded me.
Did you give it a name?
No, I didn't quite get there. I didn't think it was quite cool enough. But it just skips going all around the platforms. But there's a more visual skip incoming. There we go.
Yeah, just kind of keep the momentum from the objects moving up, so when you jump off of it, you go flying. Let you get up there a little quicker.
All right, so this is a fun little rune trial. We gotta herd some cats and, possessed. Try to get them to stand next to barrels so that we can pop them. The goal is to get 10 of them, and they typically spawn in about 4 at a time.
I don't know if you have data on failure rates for runes, but just every time seeing like somebody new playing the game, I feel like they fail that one multiple times.
It's so easy to get slapped.
Sorry.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. All right, so we got another piece of neat tech coming up. If somebody wants to explain the fast equipment mastery.
Actually, I think you may be the only one of us that knows about it.
Oh, boy. All right, well.
At a convenient moment, don't worry.
So every animation that you have in this game where you interact with something, it has either a post delay or a pre-delay, with post delays being more common. I think really the hologram is the only one that has a pre-delay before it. So when you swap weapons or you swap mods, there's like a built-in cooldown timer. And so you can initiate those actions. And because the hologram has a pre-delay and the equipment rune calculates whenever you press the equipment use button instead of when you actually use it, you can rapidly master out the rune just by taking something that has higher priority, like swapping a mod.
I assume there's that Gauss boost immediately coming through.
Wow.
It's pretty self-explanatory as to how much faster it lets you go.
It's our favorite weapon.
Oh man, it's great.
I'd say I wish I could do that in the multiplayer, but you only get 4 shots and then it disappears.
Yeah, the one in the multiplayer is pretty nice. It would be cool to use it for that, but it's so much better whenever you line 2 people up and get them with 1 shot.
It's one of the first, I guess you could really say, epic moments of this where we're having to wait for this entire thing to build up while you're having to just deal with constant hordes of demons.
All right, I gotta move. So there's some key demons that I need to find throughout the course of this, and the number one that I'm looking for right now, which is currently eluding me, there we go, Resident Fatty, the Mancubus. They count for significant combat rating. All right, so I'm on a tight time limit now. We're gonna drop down, use some tech, try to beat the elevators. It's gonna be tight. All right, there we go.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It was very important he kept invulnerability so he could still have that fall.
Oh yeah, that was great.
I've never seen that one before.
That's crazy.
I actually think Seeker, we have Seeker to thank for that. When I saw him do that initially, I was like, you know what, we can translate that over to 100%. Really awesome, I'd like to say it's more of a one-directional relationship because I don't think we do anything in 100% that the any percenters use, but we definitely pick and choose, what we see from Legacy and current any percent.
Now here we are, the first introduction to Hell, which just looks crazy good. Even down to the smallest details like the skull keys and stuff like that. Just not that we're going to be able to see as much of it because the Gauss is making us go so fast, but
all right, we're gonna close the gap over here and get this secret earlier. You typically need to wait for the bridges to be raised later on. But once again, we're on a time limit.
How was the decision made to, I guess, create this specific style of hell? Because if we go back and we check like classic Doom, like say the Inferno episode is that fire and brimstone everywhere.
Well, I think that on the high level, we wanted to stick with what hell is for Doom, but also give it kind of the modern adjusted take on it. Now, I know that's kind of a generic answer, but it is very much the culmination of like what would work best, not just from a lore standpoint, but also how it feels to play. Like, not super layered with a lot of obstacles and objects around, but really like this kind of like ash and sinew sulfur. I actually I am a concept artist, and so I worked a lot on hell.
Awesome.
So a lot
It
of
looks
our,
beautiful.
Thank you. A lot of our inspirations, I believe, were very much the kind of moody, and you can see it here, just like as he's running. You don't need to look at it, but just kind of moody lighting, a lot of texture, a lot of elements that don't get in your way while you're playing, but then still give you this aesthetic, and also contrast the demons, I think, when you're playing, because you want to be able to see those demons so you can shoot them in the face and move efficiently. But yeah, there's so many influences. I can't really think of them right now, but
I know one of my favorite things about Hell was just when they made Testament to him, like those different little shrines, I guess you could use, where you find out just what the demons had to say about him.
yeah, it's fun little storytelling. Whether you want to interact with that or not, it's your choice. Obviously, if you're 100%ing, you have to. But it's exciting to put these little elements in storytelling and how, especially the expedition, that was always really cool to see that. Like, oh, what did the UAC do in Hell? I mean, other than the fact that that's a bad choice in the first place from their perspective, I don't, what are they doing? But it's really cool to see that.
That was a mistake.
That's where you saw a platform moving in the air and the grab just didn't initiate.
Like you just caught it, but had other plans.
I got greedy. Buttered ledges, man.
Also, a fun fact in that previous arena is I believe it's the very first time that the summoners go to raising higher level demons that it can raise a Hell Knight.
That was always one of my golden rules playing it for the first time was deal with the summoner as soon as possible.
Oh yeah, they're gonna mess you up.
That's where all my chain gun ammo went.
So it's cool to me how the summoner looks very, very similar to a different demon in the multiplayer called the Harvester. Looked very, very similar visually, but instead of obviously being a summoner, it was just a straight source of damage, fired out beams, projectile balls. It was very, very good, but yeah, shared very, very similar visuals.
Well, I'd attribute that overall to the solid art direction across the entire team for this. So not just me, but many other people worked very hard to make sure that, not just from the art perspective, but also a design perspective, we're all succinct and working together. So everything feels like it's part of the same universe, which is normal in video games. But this is a real testament to it, to have that elements, demons exclusive to multiplayer, work with visually demons from the campaign. A lot of really good design and thought involved.
So you'll see that I'm zooming in on my shotgun for this, and like the super shotgun itself, it has a cone that it can. Oh no, there we go. That it can affect enemies with. But if you zoom in, it'll lengthen and narrow that cone, so it allows you to be able to kill the imps that are standing across the way. That way you can continue running forward without having to hop across, because that'll actually cost you time.
I failed this one a lot too.
That was one of the trickier challenges, yeah, for sure.
Don't feel bad, it still gets me too.
So working with the concepts on these Hell maps, like do you just get the feeling when you're watching a speedrun, like, oh, I spent so many hours into this and I feel like we passed it in 2 seconds?
Well, across the board, and not just with Doom, like watching speedruns, I frankly with all games, like just I know, even if I, not knowing people that work on that game, just knowing that how much effort and time goes in. But what I do appreciate is everyone worked so hard to figure out how to move through things. So in the long run, you're going to watch these environments a lot. You're going to see them a lot because it's a trial and error. You're not going to pick up this game immediately and do really good unless you're awesome, and that's totally okay. I'm not going to stop you. But, you know, you got to go through it. You got to experience it. And Doom has such great arenas and, you know, almost like a racetrack, you know, like in a driving game. You're driving by all this environment in a racing game all the time, but there's a certain point where you play it so much and you understand the turns and you understand the curves, where you remember the art. So I'm assuming as you're playing, and maybe this is a question for you guys, like, do you, as soon as you see a landmark or an environment, do you automatically know what you're supposed to do at that moment, like as you're approaching it, like the anticipation, knowing the map so well?
I mean, we spend so much time just going over every little thing, like you said. A lot of people would ask, like, why would you want to run through a game and just play it in 20 minutes when, you know, I spent 14 hours playing it? It's like, well, we also spent 14 hours playing it, and then we did 300 more of going through the map and testing every little mechanic and every wall, running up against it.
So if anything, you appreciate the art more than anyone else,
right?
Because you know all of it.
We've seen every little crack, every little cranny.
That's
Well,
awesome.
it's one of those things too, where it's like, you know, these speedrunning strats, a very common thing I see is, well, you know, these guys are cheating, right? Yeah, these guys are doing something that wasn't intended. It's not impressive, quote unquote, but so many of the tricks that are performed here, that was even in this run that we're seeing, are much harder than playing the game conventionally. It is without question a harder way to experience the game. So it's like similar to watching a tournament for a PvP game. It's like it's just a high level that exists. Using strategies that have taken a long time to develop, and they're not easy.
You're getting your full money's worth with this, 100%.
So I'll say there's one exception. There is a trick in Doom 2016 where you can press the switch even if it says that you can't. So you can just walk and press it.
So we might see that later.
Now, what we're seeing there, the rapid melees, that's actually something that it has remained in the single player, and it remains in the snap map, where certain weapons that you fired, wait for him to survive this one, but yeah, by all means, correct me if I'm wrong, ByteMe, but I believe it's the snap map in single player, the fast weapon shoot into melee has kind of remained, and it was only removed in the multiplayer.
Yeah, absolutely. So that technique right there is another example of the animation cancel due to priority. So because melee has higher priority over firing a gun, you can just rapidly switch back and forth between the two of them. And I mean, it's really efficient, especially in some of the later Rune trials. Oh, come on, pick that up. To be able to, you know, just use your pistol and rapidly go back and forth between a base shot and a melee shove, because, I mean, Doomslayer's elbow is pretty darn powerful. All right, so there's another piece of tech coming up here. I don't really have a name for it other than, you know, weapon, drone, punch, skip. But if you use the hologram before interacting with it, that pre-delay does something where it messes up the following animation. So it's a small time save.
Introduction to the Barons.
Also, because now we have the siege mode shot, we can do technique known as the Dreamer King SMS, which is basically just a siege mode shot that is fired instantaneously. And we named it after a member of the community who discovered it. So, you know, big shout outs to Dreamer King. Thank you for taking the time to come out and explain that to us. It definitely reshaped the way that we go about certain arena fights. That single piece of tech allows us to be extremely aggressive in the later levels against things like Cybermancubi and Barons of Hell, because you can now kill them with a single weapon rotation, whereas before you had to very delicately manage and rotate other things in, like a combat shotgun cluster strike.
really interesting to see. Again, even then, we were talking earlier about the evolution of how the quick switching works in this campaign. And just as the run progresses, the more stuff you find, the more that swapping meta essentially starts to develop. The layers. Oh, wow.
It's like a case of some scripted infighting that's going on there between the Mancubi and the Revenant, but we'll just let them fight it out.
No, I gotta bust
No,
that up,
not
man. I can't have any of this. I actually need those demons to be able to master the siege mode. So after we get done with this short area, we're going to move on to a codex, and we're going to hop around to some more scripted infighting. And at that point, you'll notice that up at the top, the combat rating is going to go from being white, which means you're still technically in an encounter, to going gold, which allows you to spend it.
I'd like to point out that was a really cool way of using your ammo.
Thank you. Another thing to point out as well is that the UI is very responsive, and if you enter your menu using tab after something on screen, it'll actually take you to the appropriate screen to spin those things. So that really goes into minimizing the amount of time that can be lost within the UI.
I'm glad that that's noticed and appreciated. This is really impressive, by the way. I just want to say that. Like, it's just absolute beast momentum.
I mean, you sometimes forget this is nightmare difficulty.
I did forget it was nightmare difficulty. Like, it doesn't, I mean, you're just so efficient. And I know that everyone works so hard as a community to understand how the game works and everything, but just watching it, it's like a very...
Man.
And that was the Baron reminding us that it was nightmare difficulty.
Yep, you know, sometimes Doom just steps up and reminds us who our daddies are.
It's just aggressive poetry, like punching you in the face.
Let's call this round 2. Fight.
Just love the intimidation factor of the Barons, though, in Doom 2016. Just
I'm pretty sure I totally jinxed that, by the way. I apologize. That didn't happen until I pointed it out. I feel so bad.
That was a great live moment that happened here. We all saw it.
There he is.
Nice.
Oh no, maybe it was him. Teach them both a lesson.
That was awesome. Except for the dying.
Except for the dying part.
But yeah, I mean, I was just mesmerized through the majority of the map. Just absolute efficiency.
You know, one thing I have to say is that the replayability of Doom 2016 is endless, and the amount of chaos in one run from the next, it's like, you know, it's a different game every time. It's just like chess. And, you know, knowing that you guys developed the game around the concept of combat chess, it really shows. No two runs are ever the same. So it always keeps things interesting. And it's a very reactive run. We have our ideas that we try to express, but, you know, they almost never work out exactly as you would intend them to.
But I feel like it's the optimization that really matters, where, yeah, technically you died at the end of that last map, but it really didn't seem all that punishing. You barely lost time with how quickly you can take the next fight.
That's true. So I should preface that my comments pertain mostly to Ultra Nightmare, because when you die, you're done.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm gonna hold off on using any Gauss ammunition because we got a skip coming up that I'm gonna perform.
Wow.
Nice.
And thankfully I have just enough to make the next 2 jumps.
That was actually the first skip found in the game. Well, it was day 1 of release.
It's a beautiful one. It took a while to show up in our 100% run, but I actually think that it's Dangerous, who spent a real good amount of time routing the first portion of this stage.
Oh,
Well, there was runners that found that the Gauss cannon had those properties and probably like just stopped their playthroughs and then just went to messing around with the maps.
Yeah, that was me.
All right, here we go. So now we can equip 3 runes. Unfortunately, this particular rune is going to stick with us for a good portion of the game because leveling it in a single playthrough is quite involved. But the cool thing about it is that now when we glory kill, we get armor shards.
Speaking of the replayability, did you do any speedrun stuff with, or attempt like the arcade mode?
I did, you know, I saw that they had an Ultra Nightmare mode in that and that they had Slayer badges. So, you know, I probably lost about a week of my life grinding that out. That was very fun and entertaining. And, you know, I really, the high-level arcade players are just fascinating. I remember watching some videos by a runner named Crazy Lurt, and just watching how mathematical and constructed his routes were for maximizing his points was mind-boggling. It was amazing to see.
That's one of the reasons that Doom 2016 it just did so well, was that there were so many different modes that no matter what kind of player you were, you could get what could be seen as a competitive experience without having to go to a PvP experience. You know, you weren't forced into player versus player. You could still get a great sense of satisfaction and accomplishment with other modes that were also very, very fun to play and highly contested by other people that enjoyed it too.
So you'll notice that's the second time I've skipped the poor minigun, and that's because both of those animations, they take time. Unfortunately, I don't have time right now. So we'll pick it up later in the level.
That Revenant definitely got taught his place. And you can just see the instant siege mode, how it's just cutting through demons now.
Crazy.
All right, this is getting a little risky. I've got a barrel next to me, somewhere. Oh no! I just need one more thing of ammo. Give me ammo. Thank you. All right, so now we're gonna swap these out and we're gonna get started on leveling these up.
So what dictates what runes you stick with for utility reasons and then leveling up the rest? Are there any points in the run where you really need one of them? Or is it you just swap them and level them up as you go? Oh, because of the 100%, I imagine.
Right, so ideally, I stick with just the one, you know, the ones that I have in, because I don't want to, you know, continuously interact with the UI. Every time you pop that open, move runes around, it costs you time, and that's no good. So optimally, you know, you go through the game, you pick up whatever you've been given by the level, and you max that out before you get to the next ones. And so it's a real delicate act. This part's gonna be a little weird because I don't have the 30 ammunition in order to perform the instant siege mode shot.
Do you have a preferred rune combo color?
Off the top of my head, no, but I also like experimenting. Even years later now, picking up the game at home or at the office, I will still just try different things and see how it feels. Like I think, as mentioned, there's so much variety when you're playing that you can have an infinite number of playthroughs almost and have a different experience. That mixing up the runes for me is a way to like experience what I know so well, even as a developer, slightly differently. And it's at the point where, like, again, I'm going to reference a racing game. If you are trying a different car, you're going around the same track, but it's the different cars that you're using. Like, I know a lot of racing games now you can drive like a sports truck, which is cool, but it's going to give you a different experience than like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. And so I'm mostly interested in that variety, just even from a development standpoint, is like, how can I get a slightly different experience. And how does that feel as I'm playing?
So there's two things I want to cover real quick. That last arena fight, the summoner came up, and I left him alive intentionally. Because in this particular fight, if you clear all of the summons, it will continuously bring in an extra Razor and an extra Hell Knight. So for the routes that we're currently using, we use that to pad out the combat rating. We'll basically just feed on anywhere from 3 to 4 Hell Knights in order to get just enough so that the remaining demons in the route that we have will cap us out. All right, so air mobility rune is really interesting. We're going to be doing a temporary hot swap because armor defensive is one of those ones that lasts a long time, and having that out allows us to get the contribution of this mega health for it, which is why we do that skip in the beginning, because we need that 200 armor application to go towards rune progression. Once we get that, we can swap back out to the air mobility rune. And we're going to do everything in our power to max that out so that we can swap back in the armor defensive. So just out of curiosity, when the runes were being developed, what determined the thresholds for masteries?
I think that someone else who will be up on stage later will be able to answer that question a little better than myself. The majority of the time I was focused on the visual look of things and drawing pictures.
I guess that's always the thing about a game of this scale, right? There's so many moving parts and so many individual people that would focus on different areas that it really puts things into perspective when the final result's finally out. It's why it's so polished, I think.
Yeah,
a lot of hours put into it.
Yeah, and to clarify that, I mean, we are aware of a lot of other moving parts on the project, but you may not be fully aware of something until it's in the game in front of you as you're playtesting experiences, and this is true across all game development, regardless of game or platform. And
I just want to ask, is there something in the game that you weren't aware of until it launched that you like really found, like, wow, I can't believe I didn't know about this sooner? Or?
Well, honestly, most of the secrets, like I was playing through the game a lot to understand how it was working and how we were getting through it, and I didn't actually 100% the game until it was at home at my house, and I was discovering things that I just didn't know were in the game, and that comes from such very efficient and focused development where you have, like, I'm working on my aspects, and I do try to, I played the game every day. Like before it launched, I had over 500 hours in it, but I'm very focused on the elements that I'm aware of. And, you know, sometimes you'll discover things and sometimes they'll be told to you, but across the board, you're kind of really, you're focused on what you're focused on, but you're also trying to experience it as a player. Like, I actually purposely did not go around asking about everything in the game so that I could have these moments where I'm discovering it as I get it, or an encounter even. Like, there's definitely some exciting encounters that I knew were in development, but then once you finally experienced it in the retail copy per se, that was really exciting. And just knowing, it was almost like I had a cheat sheet because I developed it, so I was able to go into some of these experiences knowing what I should do or could do. But I also like not knowing things because when you're so close to it, you are aware of so much stuff, and you really want to experience it the same way everyone else gets to experience it on the street. Sorry, that was very long-winded and non-direct.
Exploration into the exclusion zones outside the base is prohibited.
I didn't wait for the UI to trigger, so I'm just going to manually go to that.
Breach detected.
There we go. All right, so now we're going to be juggling the super shotgun, the glory kills, and the stun bomb. This is one of those few arenas where whatever direction you're looking in can actually influence where the enemies are going to spawn. Sometimes we end up in situations like we're in now, where the Hell Knights just need these enemies over here to disappear before they actually spawn in. Very rare hiccups, but they happen from time to time.
feels like the moment you get the Gauss Cannon, it just gives you so much freedom over your own movement.
There's literally nothing you can't do once you get the siege mode. I mean, even standalone headshots with the Gauss rifle are very powerful. You know, I've played many different modes of Ultra Nightmare, and probably my favorite is the 0% criteria, because it really shows you how powerful the Doomslayer is, even without all the gadgets and gizmos. The base weapons and his ability to swap through them at the base rate. You know, you can pull off some very impressive things with a standard shotgun or super shotgun. All right, so we're gonna farm imps using the chainsaw so that we can continue to spam our instant siege mode shot.
And even a cyber Mancubi, when we meet up with them, survive that siege gas plus rocket plus SSG.
No, a single rotation with remote det rocket, instant siege mode shot, and a double tap to the head will be enough to bring it down. It's literally the most powerful known combo in the game right now.
Work and discoveries here belong to me.
I'm really looking forward to showing it off during the boss fights.
Access granted.
I'm still very mesmerized at watching this happen, like right up close and hearing the commentary on it. Like, even being so close to development, just watching someone play so efficiently. It's like, I also feel like I'm not good at the game now.
Oh, don't worry. The game reminds me I'm not good at it either, all the time. Dime can attest. There have been multiple streams where I've just been stuck in UAC for 4 hours at a time.
Oh boy,
It's not fun.
The tram is now ready to depart.
that's awesome.
There's a really awesome love-hate relationship between myself and Doom. It always very humbly puts me back into my place. Well, I love this game, man. You know, literally, this is a modern classic, and it's one of those games that is going to survive the test of time. You know, you can pick it up without having played any of the prior Doom titles and still have an amazing time and think like, wow, you know, this is a great game. The story is so loosely threaded that, you know, all the fans of the former games, they can pick it up and be like, yeah, you know, this is what I was looking for. But it can also appeal to new people. The balance, everything, you know, it's just all around well-rounded experience.
I think for me too is how it runs. You know, the fact that you can use Vulkan for this just completely transforms the frames you get on PC. No matter the game mode you play.
I mean, literally, there's nothing to criticize about the game. It's awesome music, awesome gameplay, awesome imagery. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's the best of all time.
Well, we're glad you like it.
And we'll definitely have to give some special shouts to Mick Gordon and the soundtrack game for this
Oh,
game.
yeah,
I'm
totally.
sure I speak for many Doom fans when I say that we're eagerly awaiting what soundtrack comes next with Eternal. I mean, all the teasers he posts on his Instagram and stuff like that, it's like 5-second loops from like a camera. Because obviously he's talking about both the raw files. And that's enough. Just a 5-second loop. Just listen to that for an hour. It's like, that's all I want. That's all I need. Just pump it straight into my veins, dude.
Yeah, Mick's a beast. Again, that's, I believe BFG division comes on during that fight at the base of Argent Tower. Like, that just adds so much to that.
Lockdown disengaged.
So I believe this is going to be the last health upgrade, and then beyond this, we're going to start focusing on armor. And the reason that we put armor off until the last part is because armor will actually contribute towards armor defensive as well. The theme of this is really just do everything you can in order to get armor defensive out of the way, because it's the one rune that keeps you from immediately going into the alpha rune rotation, which, well, there's no rotation, but vacuum equipment, and not equipment, what am I talking about? It's vacuum, ammo boost, and Rich Get Richer. Those are the three that you want to have.
That actually reminds me, the question earlier about runes. One of my favorite runes is Rich Get Richer. Not just because of its effect, but I just love the self-aware humor of it. Just the title.
It's a great rune, all around. Yeah, so we're gonna farm some glory kills here for the sake of runes.
But in ways during this run, we finally get, like, the whole storyline talks about how they overpowered the Doomslayer is, but we go and we kind of play it personally, and we're getting our butt kicked here on Nightmare, but now we kind of see the reality of maybe what the Doomslayer is supposed to look like.
Oh yeah, especially during speedruns.
Yeah, this run you guys are watching right now is canon.
I don't know, for any of you who haven't seen the Cadinger video that's done by Clockner, I definitely say go check that out. He's a very highly skilled Quake player, and he did a real fantastic job. I draw a lot of inspiration from the way that he runs his games. Really, really freaking good stuff from him. All right, well, so what we just did right there was chainsaw farming. We're trying to artificially increase our level with combat rating. Chainsaw kills do not sequence this fight. So we use that in order to be able to spawn in more Hell Knights. It's really interesting, and from a technical standpoint, I'd love to know what exactly is going on that causes that. But now that we've killed 5, we can just instantly mark the summoner, and now we can go straight to the Revenants. So it's going to allow us to hopefully clear this in a fairly decent time. All the while leveling up our much-loved runes.
Doomslayer just can't stop punching.
This is the Doomslayer right here.
You know I said this run was canon?
Yeah.
I have to say, you know, I'm surprised that Doom did not win Best Point-and-Click Adventure for 2016 when it came out, because that's what the Berserk Pack turns it into. All right, let's find our demon who's playing hide-and-seek with us. There we go.
Nice.
Demonic presence eliminated. Lockdown disengaged.
Now, unfortunately, I need to be the bearer of bad news, Colin, and say that it's time to rotate you. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Once more, I want to give you just one final chance to give any shouts that you want to give while you're here to the fans, people watching in this lovely venue, or the people at home.
Just keep playing and check out Doom Eternal when it releases on November 22nd. So that's it. That's all I got.
Sure, wonderful. Thank you very much. Round of applause, please.
Oh,
Thank you for all your hard work, man, and best of luck with the continued support of Eternal.
thanks for
It's been a
having me.
pleasure having you on the couch. Now, while we go for another swap, right as, man, this is perfect timing, right as we have another transition, stuff that you can't really skip.
But it's such a great moment in the game. Just like meet Samuel Hayden for the first time in person. And see all these relics and kind of get the backstory without really just shoving it down your throat.
Yeah, that's the nice part about it, is that, you know, the story elements are there if you want them. And that's just, it's a brilliant way to tell stories like this. You know, because there's all sorts of throwbacks to, like, the original games. Although Doom 26-5, 2016-5. I mean, somewhere in the game there's a soul cube. I can't say I know off the top of my head. I probably run by it all the time.
I believe it's in Olivia's office.
You'll have to point that out to me as we zip by.
There's also things like the Icon of Sen, which we'll see later. So many throwbacks, and like the classic maps for the secrets. It all just comes together so perfectly.
Another little fun fact is those Templar Knights on the right-hand side, their armor is playable in the multiplayer. So if you want to play as a Templar, you just go into the multiplayer and equip it. Happy days.
Harness the power of the well. I believe it will show you how to shut it down.
It's really neat being able to see like the different parts of the level too through the windows, because we're going to end up going down there here very shortly.
Accessible through a secure elevator from the Advanced Research Complex across the chasm. Your affinity for guns is apparent.
Got some comfy chairs there, and you're not even going to sit down?
I don't have time, man. I'd love to stay and chat, but I'm sure he's pretty upset with me over the filter incident.
Hey, dude, this has not been any more perfectly timed. So right as we finish this unskippable transition, we've gone from Colin to Peter. How's it going, man?
I'm good. Happy to be here.
We've got some fans in the crowd. So yeah, just quick introduction for those that have just joined, what your role is and how it feels to be on this side of the couch.
My role is senior designer on the team, so I focus on a lot of the player side stuff, weapons and progression and things like that, player movement. Keeps falling out.
Now, these things are wrecking me as well.
It feels awesome to be on this side of the couch. I watch speedruns a lot, and it's just so much fun to see the mastery of our game and just the precision and the skill involved in it is just mind-blowing. I mean, just watching the way he switches weapons and understands the animation priority and how he manages all that to just efficiently kill everything. It's so much fun to watch. It's hypnotizing. So.
It's almost hard to believe that we're already an hour and 35 in.
I know. That's the thing is,
begun.
You blink and it's been an hour because it's just there's always something to watch and there's always something impressive on screen. I mean, it's fantastic. It's awesome.
I mean, part of me always thinks that's the appeal of Doom speedruns, is that because it's so high octane, there's always something going on.
Yeah.
The lack of downtime means that you barely notice how long the run has been.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's always been a staple of id games in general. And I think just seeing the precision of it all is just, yeah, like I said, it's just time just blinks away.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, we're almost at the final 5. I've just been on autopilot.
Well, I think only a couple of deaths so far, and they weren't really very punishing deaths either, so it's been a really good run so far.
Yeah, the Baron one in Blechy Bay is just, that was another day for me. That happens so often.
Yeah, the Baron was just wrong place, wrong time, and the first one was just an unlucky barrel.
Exactly. It's funny, he mentioned that, sometimes the game will humble you, and I actually, like, watching the skill on display, but still knowing that the game will get him every once in a while is nice.
I wish it was every once in a while. But I mean, it's great, that level of challenge too. Sometimes I'll be going into a speed run and I'll come out of something difficult, and I know I'm behind on time, but at that point I'm vested. I'm like, oh
Right.
man, I got to finish this out. I just survived this thing. I can't walk away.
The fact that you're also trying this on Nightmare is impressive. Like,
Oops.
it's so hard to play that mode for me. I'm not nearly as good as you are, and just seeing how much that is not a problem is awesome.
I appreciate that, man. I've got so much to learn myself, and thankfully there are a lot of very talented individuals that I know that have kind of taken me under their wing and have taught me so much. I really blessed. Look forward to continuing to learn, hopefully continue to improve in the days ahead. Can't wait for Eternal.
Yeah, I think I'm very excited to see what the speedrun community does with Eternal as well.
Well, you're saying that you had learned like just how powerful headshots were over time, and that your times came down a lot when you just started getting more and more into your run.
Absolutely. Oh, no. All right, cool. God. Crazy. That sailing over that chasm is always a real clinch moment. Can I say that?
Yeah, we always knew that the Gauss pushback would be something that high skill players would use, but just seeing how much everyone's gotten out of it is just so much fun.
I'm really happy to see that still exists within Internal.
Oh yeah.
We're going to take great use out of it. Now we have a history. We know we have a starting point.
Right.
You guys already have those fundamentals ready to go.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's really important to us that those translate in the next game as well. So.
Tell you what, that meat hook, Doomslayer might as well be pretending he's Spider-Man.
With the meat hook and the dash, I think the speed running will be just incredible to watch.
like all the mobility is going to lend itself really nicely to battle mode too.
Oh yeah.
Just it's going to be hard to. A really talented Slayer who's sticking with their mobility might be kind of hard to catch with the demons have slightly slower projectiles.
Yep.
Now this room.
Go ahead.
So this is one of the more memorable parts of 2016 right here.
Yeah, we got some really interesting areas coming up. Fairly difficult trick and moderately difficult arena. So I'm just gonna get under that. Perfect. So I'm kind of going in the reverse order for this, but there's a reason, and this ties into the. Oh no! Did I? Never mind. I got what I needed. Let's see. We're on technical scope now. We just double take. Cool. Got turned around a little bit, but this allows us to master Devastator rounds. And because there are a lot of squishy targets in here, it's just a really good way to, snag a quick glory kill, as well as, get the progress towards that. Because, some of these are very, very difficult, and you have to save your encounters in order to take the most out of the progression. So, like even the short time window right here, got to make sure that I kill them while I'm under the effects of blood fuel. That way, I can get that capped out for the next stage, because the sooner I can rotate in ammo boost, the sooner I'll be able to abuse this beautiful gun we're about to put our hands on.
This is such a memorable moment.
Yep, and that's why we're gonna skip it. Just go straight for the goods.
That was not how that was supposed to go. Yeah, it's interesting to see the rune combinations you use, just in how you switch them out when you change it up.
I'm glad to see this is also the tactic for getting these headshots.
And this is exactly why we go out of our way in that first Gore Nest arena. Advanced Research Complex is a rare one-off from the way that combat rating works. Combat rating is actually only counted by demons that exist near the Gore Nests in this level. So, we spent a lot of time, trying to figure out, well, how can we ensure that we get enough combat rating? There were very, very rare times using the Berserk pack where we were able to, get the 2 and 15% that we needed in order to be able to perform it. So, when we discovered that using a chainsaw basically allows us to, bypass the phase of that fight, we just started working it in, and, it saves time, a considerable amount of time in the long run, just because of the difficulty of nailing those shots naturally in the heat of battle. Especially on Ultra Nightmare, you always want to take the lazy route. Lazy route, safe route. ByteMe approved.
Feels like a trick when you give us the BFG and the next room is just a whole bunch of explosive barrels, and you're so excited to use it that you just waste the first shot.
Well, that was the intent of that. Was there will be people who have never shot the BFG before, and there will be people who have certainly shot the BFG before. And we wanted to make sure that it was fun first to pull the trigger. And then the barrels were there for some extra presentation and explosion.
Yeah. Well, the second part to that setup is this is all based on the Phobos anomaly, like the barrel room with the pinkies, but we have the zombies there instead. And then we got the double Baron spawn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Hugo and Marty mention it all the time, but we always look at the classic games as a reference. In some cases, we want to recreate some of our favorite bits from those games. Just kind of pay homage to that stuff.
This fight is very fun to optimize with all the extra BFG around the arena, and you can use it to just great effect.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, because this was the first encounter after BFG, we really wanted to make sure that there was plenty of ammo in the arena for you to really just go nuts pit. And again, if you're a first-time player and not knowing what the BFG has to offer, you're going to learn exactly how devastating it can be while you're in here. In fact, there's a quad as well. It's kind of ridiculous. But it allowed us to kind of throw a lot at you.
Oh, that was a mistake. Let's go back.
Multiple cyber mankies.
Well, I said let's go back. Thank you.
Yeah, it was interesting. We originally didn't have those teleporters have a cooldown, but when we were doing playtesting, it was just so exploitable because you can just keep bouncing back and forth, and the AI obviously take a second to recognize you there. And so we added that in there, and it made the fight flow a lot better because you had to be a little more deliberate about when you use it.
Lockdown disengaged.
All right, cool. So we've got just enough, and I believe it's the red one that has the gas, so I'm gonna go get this because chainsaw is always good to have. And we're just gonna camp over by this little quad damage. Now it's time to use it.
Fight's over.
GG.
Little anticlimactic.
It's always fun to watch people play this for the first time and think they're done with the fight and go to call up the elevator.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of the whole point. Was we assumed that they would take that big encounter and be like, okay, they wouldn't throw more at me, so they probably spent all their BFG ammo. It was kind of a little surprise there.
Took the quad damage straight away.
Yeah,
Like, man, I wish I had that quad damage.
Yeah. Well, it's an opportunity to teach you, like, you may want to wait, and if you die, you learn, okay, next time, don't use it yet. So just all these little teaching moments that we try to sprinkle in there, even this late in the game.
The design aspect is phenomenal. The way that the drops, the power-ups, and all that stuff is placed, it really allows for some creative runs. There are people who have even gone as far as, completing Ultra Nightmare with only a pistol and, a small handful of equipment, which, that's a very, very difficult task.
Yeah, I can't even process that. It's funny, when we started out with Ultra Nightmare, the goal was to, let's try to make a mode that we don't think anyone can beat. And Nightmare and not being able to die were, at the office we had months where we had these Ultra Nightmare competitions internally to see who could get the furthest. It was like the day before the game release, someone finally beat it, but they had kind of save-scummed it, so we didn't really count it. And so we thought we did, and then I think like 2 days after the game came out, someone beat it.
Yeah.
Already.
Well, I feel like those kind of modes, they invite challenge.
Right.
The moment you invite challenge, it inspires a big group
Yeah.
of people to really take up the challenge and see who can be the first. And it
Exactly.
just makes everyone better.
Yeah, well, you have to start. You really have to understand every single aspect of the game if you want to be able to get through that. So it's kind of a challenge to not only ourselves on the development side, but also the community. We want to say, hey, how good are you? And of course, they show us they're way better than we are very quickly.
Yeah, while we're at it, I want to give a big shout out to Zomeister, the OG pistol-only Ultra Nightmare guy. Really, really awesome fellow, proudly serving in the United States Marine Corps. Hoorah, Semper Fi. Thank you for your service, buddy. All right, so I've got to get a chainsaw kill. Ah, here we go. Oh, and we're getting freebie BFG. That ammo boost swap out's finally starting to pay off. All right, let's see if we can get away with one of these. I don't think we're going to get any drops.
It's actually one of my favorite arenas in the game, just because it's a little more claustrophobic than some of the other arenas that you've had up to this point. But the speed you can reach in this arena is just so awesome with the haste in there, and then you're just bouncing around on the walls and on the ceilings. I always enjoyed doing that.
That can be an extremely scary arena too, especially in some of the challenge runs that exist there. A lot of us who religiously run Ultra Nightmare, that particular Gore Nest has ended a lot of runs.
What about that one has put so much challenge to you guys?
It's really just making sure that you're aware of your surroundings. The bottom pit, personally for me, ended one of the runs because an explosive barrel got knocked down somewhere, and I couldn't see it. So I forget what it was that I fired, but I ended up triggering it. And when you don't have any upgrades or anything, there's really not much that's going to save you from a barrel explosion that's right next to you. But it's really great. Love the challenge.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. That's part of the fun for us too. Funny, I think we just went past the one part in the game where you have to use crouch to progress.
It can be really easy sometimes to forget crouches in the game.
Yeah. Yep. That's why in Doom Eternal we put dash in there. Just such a prime button, and we wanted to do something meaningful with it this time around.
It's like a weird rune mastery where it's just telling you to play the game normally.
Yeah. Yeah, this one though, if you get hit once, you're dead, right?
Not in this one. There will be coming up later in the level. So-
Okay.
And that one gets really tricky really fast. So now we've got probably one of the best, most powerful runes in the game, the one that allows you the ability to have infinite ammo. All right, so I need to go ahead with this.
There's a variety of ways. If you get too low on your armor for your rich get richer to kind of just gain it all back, especially with the stipend runes and the, what's the other one? The other rune.
Armor defensive?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we knew those combos would exist, and we wanted people to kind of discover those on their own, and find the ones that work best for them. So it's cool to see a lot of those rune combos coming into play in these 100% runs. Not to mention keeping Rich Get Richer going on Nightmare, to me, is just super impressive, because you can take so much damage so fast.
So Intimacy is Best is an interesting rune. One that we really have to try to work with because the intention of it is brilliant, but for speedrunning, unfortunately, it's not something that we can readily apply because glory kills take time. So we have to deal with it and basically work it in. Oh, there we go. It basically makes killing demons more difficult. So with that in mind, we try to make sure that we maximize it as quickly as possible. There's going to be an area coming up later in the level where we can use Heat Blast very symbiotically to encourage the growth and mastery of that rune. And I really hope from the outside looking in, seeing the delicate nature of trying to manage both runes and weapon mods simultaneously. There's a lot of care and thought that goes into them. And this is going to be one of those prime examples. All right, sweet. I think I got my dev rounds.
There.
I didn't do anything. Nobody saw anything.
Demonic presence eliminated.
So your main category, ByteMe, is Ultra Nightmare, and there's many, I'm sure, Doom 2016 players out there who are still kind of working on the difficulty. How would you, what would you recommend to a player to be able to get through this difficulty and beat it for their first time?
I would say that there's a lot of really good information out there generated by the passionate individuals who are responsible for developing this. There's a thing, Game Developer Conference, where they talk about the artificial intelligence, learning how the demons move, how they respond, how they react. That's very valuable information to have. So understanding that will allow you to adapt how you play to how they set up their shots, how they interact with one another. And man, those were some nice bunny hops.
Wait till tomorrow, man.
Sorry.
Save it for the...
Wrath up. But anyway, definitely learn to micromanage encounters. Start out, be defensive, but as you get more comfortable with the game, move to being more offensive. Once you get to a point where you're stable and you're surviving to a steady part, try optimizing it. The faster you kill the demons, the less you have to worry about them. So, very similar to with like StarCraft Brood War. Micromanage, learn arenas, learn what you need to knock down in what order, and just go from there.
You're going to have to.
The really cool thing about this fight coming up is you can control the way that the enemies spawn in the map just by looking in this direction. So they won't ever spawn behind them. They'll spawn in these two quadrants.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We lovingly call this the pie room because on either sides of this column are what we consider pie slices. And so the spawns, the allowed spawn points, allow for all the possible spawns to just show up right here. And so this is where this is where we're gonna do some farming for intimacy is best. Apparently we're gonna get some BFG too. Sustenance. You don't belong here.
Oh my god. Oh, what a nice shot. It's been almost 2 hours and I'm still not tired of that.
Yeah. Yeah, there are two enemies that have set spawns. You can't really force in.
Demonic presence eliminated. Lockdown disengaged.
I made a boo-boo. Forgot to swap out a weapon mod. There's always a shock and awe kind of moment when you go to Cluster Strike, something like that. You have the wrong mod out. I need some ammo. Thanks, buddy.
It's a very easy lever to miss if you're playing too casually.
Oh yeah, the one lever that gave me the most grief, and I don't know if I was just tired at the time or whatnot, but I didn't want to let the game down, was the one in Argent. I swear I looked up and down for that thing and just could not find it.
Yeah, some of those are pretty tricky. Those are typically the hardest secrets to find in the map, especially once you get in later maps. Because it blends in so well, but we also want to make those put a little more extra work into those.
I assume that was a little bit of optimization, getting the thing to charge so it was in that state to be chainsawed, that animation.
Yeah, absolutely. Ah, man, there we go. So we're done with that. We can swap back to Stun Bomb, which is going to make this area up ahead pretty easy peasy. This upcoming arena is a very difficult fight and often gives people a good amount of grief. My suggestion for anybody who's struggling on this particular one is, up in the crates, there is actually an area where the demons can't path to, and so it offers like a little area of refuge. Now, just because they can't path to it doesn't mean they can't hit you. They're very good at doing that, but gives you some cover. So helps you stay alive, helps you knock down more demons. This is a variation of the DK SMS, where I don't have to weapon swap, but I only have 1 hit point, so I don't want to get hit. That would suck. Out of ammo.
I always enjoyed the tension of this trial. He made it look so easy, but for us it was very intense. But that tech is interesting too, the melee to cut the Gauss.
Yeah, and that goes back to just being able to get that instant shot off. You can either do it with swapping weapons and then swapping back, or triggering a melee. Those two variations, that specific part of the demonstration of the tech, very useful in that Rune trial.
mode never gets old for me. Anytime that shot gets wind up.
Presence of unsaving element. Lockdown. Demonic presence.
That BFG shot was just OP.
Lockdown.
Yeah, threading the needle with the BFG is one of the more fun things to do, I think. We wanted to make sure that there was a little more tactical thinking around it than just, shoot the biggest thing in front of you. So actually letting it go through the environment longer will benefit you more because it's going to obviously hit a lot more demons with tendrils.
Lockdown. Disengage.
It's cool to see it used so effectively here.
All right, so here we go. First boss of the game. It's pretty tense, pretty difficult. It's got a lot of very interesting attack patterns, and it can really trip you up, especially when it decides that it wants to do something like lay down a missile minefield and then go straight into a charge attack. There's a lot to look out for.
So many things about these boss battles that everyone remembers, and the big thing are these first person, essentially like cinematics, right? If we're going to reintroduce something like a cyber demon, it's got to be something
Yes.
you remember. Look at it.
Just that intro.
It's very much a you versus me attitude, which I just thought worked so well.
Yeah, we really wanted to get that mano a mano feeling in this fight, and I think just that introduction really sets the stage for it so well.
Good game.
Yeah. He's usually hard, especially on Nightmare.
Now he's dead.
Yeah.
That BFG round is so close. I could just grab it. The cool thing is that as soon as he is dead, the second time, I'll have Intimacy as best mastered, so I can swap it out for Vacuum, and that'll be 2 of the 3 triumvirate runes.
I found this to be one of the biggest curveballs. You have such a sigh of relief when you first defeat him, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, we wanted to give you a false sense of security there, and of course it wouldn't be fitting if the Cyber Demon went down that easily, so it was fun to transport you to hell, get you in this arena, and just completely change the space, really, like you said, throw a curveball at you. It was fun. Didn't get much harder there, I guess. I remember at the office we were watching someone was trying to beat Ultra Nightmare, and up to that point we hadn't heard about anyone beating it yet, and he had gotten to the Cyber Demon, and he was just talking about how he was going to smoke the game, and the second stage of that fight finally got him, and you just heard people erupting throughout the office cheering because we really didn't want him to beat it yet, and so he had to start over, but I think he either started playing on Ultra Nightmare from the beginning or had done like one Nightmare run, and then he was like, okay, I'm going to go beat Ultra Nightmare now. So it's fun to see the Cyber Demon smack him down a little bit.
I imagine there's a lot of satisfaction seeing the game mode doing what it says on the tin, which is, you design it because you want people to lose.
Yeah. I mean, it's that we know that we want our games to have this skill mastery to them, and the best, like what you said earlier, the best way to get there is to really put something in front of you that challenges you. And I think, doing what we did, it gets people to start really trying to understand every nook and cranny of every system. And I mean, you're seeing all the years of work that went into figuring all that out here. We certainly couldn't have imagined it getting this far. It's just so cool to see that. And it just speaks to how dedicated our fans are and how much fun they have playing the game. It's always great to see.
A run like this is just the fruits of the labor, right? This is the end result of that work that has gone into really trying to perfect how to approach maps.
Exactly, yeah.
Look how he's just cutting through everything on this map.
Well, and even just knowing the enemy spawns perfectly and all the pickups in the map, I mean, that's stuff that's been in id games since, the Quakecon quick days, Doom speedruns and all that. So it's cool to see the community still able to do all that with 2016.
I know, so the preset combos with Cyber Mancuba, very specifically swapping to weapons to make sure that by the time you reach it, you've done the bulk of the damage already.
So here I'm working on trying to get my pistol mastered. I know this is a very funny stage to try to do that, but it is literally like one of those weapons where you have to find a place for it. This just happens to be it.
I would not have guessed you'd use the Mancubus for that.
I gotta work with what I have. There are actually some really good areas in this particular stage for doing it, which is why it ultimately wound up here.
I'll say I'm actually a really big fan of that cyber Mancubus combo you're doing.
No, back here. This is the one that got away.
Was there ever a thought of doing any upgraded versions of any of the other monsters?
Said. Mic test 1 2 1 2. I'm sorry. Could you ask that again?
Going over a bit of an adjustment. Bear with us, guys. There was just a little bit of feedback just now, so construction are correcting some of the mic. We'll be back soon. I guess chatting until we eventually come back, but.
There's an imp that got away somewhere.
Yeah, we'll find him. We should be all right back now, guys, I think.
Okay.
I believe so, anyway.
You can repeat your question.
Yeah, I was just asking if there was ever a thought of doing any other upgraded versions for monsters, such as the Mancubi and the Cyber Mancubi.
I think we certainly look at that kind of stuff. I think for us, we would always prefer to create a unique creature unless the variant really makes sense as part of the archetype already. And it's, part of it is also not trying to force it too much. The Cyber Mancubus just fits so well because we wanted to have a version of, he's already got the big cannon, so he's basically like a tank, right? So having a version of him that would actually leave damage over time pool to kind of force the player to keep moving just made sense. We certainly, it's always up for discussion. I think we tend to just start with mechanically, okay, what do we want this character to do? And if there's a niche for it that is, far enough away from someone else, we might just create a new character for that versus, it's a variant. I mean, that's where the word comes from, but like it's an opportunity to kind of add some flavor to that class of that demon. So it's a target of opportunity.
So this is my favorite part, and this is probably the proudest, the thing that I'm most proud of, is mastering saving throw in this area. So I just killed myself with a rocket and fired off a BFG, and I was able to dispatch the enemies that are necessary to do. In Ultra Nightmare, you really only have one shot. There is a way to keep your saving throw rune fresh. If you have it equipped at the end of the level, you can always use it the next level, but you have to have it equipped at the end of the level. So before we found that out, there's literally just, it's a one-stop shot. So this hallway just happened to be that. And when I figured that out, that was the moment that I knew that 100% Ultra Nightmare was what I wanted to focus on, because, I saw that there was a lot of care taken in designing and ensuring that anyone who wanted to do these kinds of things could.
Yeah, that was awesome. I've actually never seen that move. That was very, very cool.
I don't know if it was intended design or whatnot, but
definitely not. But we don't. I guess we would never go as far as to prevent that from being possible either. I think our goal is always to make the systems coexist with one another in such a way that you can do things like that. Because at the end of the day, we would balance the game around the idea that someone's completed that anyway. So if you find a trick like that that lets you do it instantly, that's fine.
Perfect. All right, so we just got Rich Gets Richer. done. So our infinite ammo rune is good to go. Now we get to level up that. We're going to go ahead and swap out equipment rune for ammo boost, because who doesn't love free BFG?
Now you have infinite ammo, I'd imagine too. From how fast you can cut the fight.
I'm sorry, I think I missed what was said.
I was saying, now you've got infinite ammo, I imagine so much freedom over both ability to out the fights in general.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think your mic might be cutting up a little bit.
It might be too. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. I believe we might not.
Yeah, you're definitely heavily cutting in and out. So yeah, no, going back to the rich get richer. So now that it's mastered, we have the ability to have infinite ammo with 75 armor. So the name of the game is don't get hit. Oh man, I soloed it. Don't worry, we're gonna try this again. There we go. Okay, so we're going to use these Mankibai to finish out our mastery, and then we're going to swap back to Cluster Strike. Triple Burst is really interesting, but it doesn't hold a candle to the Cluster Strike on the other side. So there we go. Take it right up, hit this. Now, earlier in the Doom 3 run in the Hell level, you caught a brief glimpse of the stone bullet, is what I like to call it. In Titan's Realm, this is a throwback to that. I take it. That was a pretty big assumption. But I made that connection not too long ago after watching BT do a Doom 3 speedrun.
Yeah, we try to throw as many of those little Easter eggs in here as we can, because everyone at the office is such a big Doom fan. It's just an opportunity to kind of, pay homage to the games you grew up playing, or even the games that you worked on, because some people who are there now still worked on Doom 3 as well.
See, now infinite ammo's a thing. I feel like it's party time.
Oh, yes, it is. We're getting close to having our alpha runes as well, and that's when things get really fun. For me, at least, not for the demons.
Oh, it's never about them having fun.
It's just crazy to watch. I mean, the skill on display is just awesome. I mean, you guys know these encounters better than we do, for sure.
It was a fun puzzle. That was probably one of the things I had the most fun with when learning and developing the routes, was just, what's the most efficient way to knock down the demons.
I mean, how long does it take to do something like that? I mean, there's so many variables that you guys have to consider when you're trying to develop these runs.
Probably, I don't know how long it takes for you guys to develop it, but I'd say a pretty significant fraction of that. I mean, we can spend hundreds of hours just going through the same run over and over, trying to find efficiencies in order to make rune leveling easier. They're really, I'd say the community is heavily responsible for the development of a lot of these routes. I've had so many people come in and just, be like, hey, this way is much faster, you gotta try this. And I'm always game on trying, if it pans out, that's awesome. And if it doesn't, hey, you've just introduced a new idea. So a lot of it is, the dedicated runners out there, people like RZXE, Tricky Dog, Red Warrior, they just stick at it, and they go to it on almost a daily basis. Collectively, we've got thousands of hours going into routing. It's really great, and the people are really enthusiastic. It's great running alongside them.
Yeah, generally in a route like this, you'll just go through like, all right, this is what I need to do. I'm just going to play through it and collect everything. Then you start revising it. Every time you go through it, you're like, all right, maybe I can do this a little better. Or someone else might do a run and say, hey, I did it this way instead, and it seems faster. And you just keep doing that over in time. So it's not like you just sit down for 30 hours and just plan out
Sure.
everything perfectly. It could take years to get some of these routes down to where they are now. Some games it's like a couple days, a couple months, but it's been in the works for a while.
Okay, so Peter, just
Yes.
been informed that unfortunately the time on the couch is up.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, man, it has been. It's actually a real pleasure having you on. So thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
Really
Once
appreciate it.
more, just to keep it consistent. Any last things you want to say to the folks here in the crowd or on the stream before we tag you out?
I'm going to echo what Colin and Mark said. We love our fans, and we're so proud to be on this journey with you guys. And keep playing Doom, and can't wait to get Doom Eternal in your hands.
Hey, one more time, guys. Round of applause, please. Yeah, thanks, man. Take
Thanks.
care. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Now we're going to be going back in. Just a bit more of the fight when we tag in with Joshua Wall, sitting down in a few moments. But wow, we actually rarely see some chain gun action at last.
Yep, this is one of the rare occasions where you'll get to see it because this is the perfect arena for getting the ticks to upgrade it. And I may have just ruined it right there. We'll see. It's all going to be dependent on this kill right here. Either we get it or we don't. All right, we got it. Cool. So that fight is really tricky to do, and if you lose your infinite ammo from Rich Get Richer, you can pretty much kiss the mobile turret ticks goodbye, because you'll end up running out of ammo about midway through the fight. And in order to master that particular mod, you have to kill 4 demons while being deployed. You can't overheat and you can't redeploy. It has to be in one deployment session. Now, you can continue to have it deployed like I did. You don't have to undeploy and redeploy in between ticks, but it has to be within that scope. So maintaining your cooldown rates and watching your ammo are very important, and it's crucial to have Rich Get Richer active. All right, I think I got everything. Let me just double check. Okay. Yeah. All right.
All right, so the fast turnaround. Final guest. The final guest of the show is going to be Joshua Ball sitting next to me. Most of you guys know him as Tokyo Punch-Out. And yeah, good to have you here, mate. It's kind of weird how we're sitting on a couch doing Doom now.
Yeah.
Because we met in Doom 2016,
That's
multiplayer. 3 years later, here we are.
That's where we fell in love.
That's where the journey began.
Yeah, Doom 2016, I think a lot of people brought a lot of people together from community, multiplayer, and then this amazing feat that is Speedrun by ByteMe right now. I couldn't be more psyched for doing the whole anthology today. It's just the dream come true. And ByteMe is just literally and figuratively killing it, I feel like. So this has been amazing so far.
Man, this has been really a true pleasure for me, getting to see Dime, Blood Thunder, and Zelo run those games. I can't tell you, I appreciate the work and effort that they've put in to learn it. It's awesome, because growing up on those games, I remember the struggles that I had, and watching them just obliterate it is dumbfounding to me.
Now, visually, this map always really did remind me of one of the classic maps.
Oh yeah.
You have those 2 gates here, very, very distinct colors, it just doesn't look very natural, but I really like that. I like the idea that this is an old throwback, real setup, the final boss to have.
Yeah, it's something you don't see even in modern games too much anymore, where they're like, you know what would make this look even older? Dust. What if dust just came down every time you touch something or you turn a crank? And I mean, ByteMe's moving so fast with this, it's hard to even actually notice, but it's incredible the amount of detail that goes into these levels.
All right, that was fun. All right, so now we're going to drop down, and we're going to move over to the corpse of the Icon of Sin, or at least something that bears a striking resemblance to it.
I'm embarrassed to say that on the Icon of Sin, I was sitting there for a good 2 or 3 minutes just trying to shoot the little icon brain, and I couldn't figure out how to beat the, the little encounter.
You're just like, please, something come out, please.
Oh,
This is-
something did come out.
And you're like, what do I do now? Yeah, it's an incredible throwback for sure.
All right, so we're gonna save Precision Bolt for Endgame. That's a fun mod. I love the headshot mods, even though they're very tricky to pull off in like the heat of things. They're always very satisfying. Man, there's just like free BFG all over the place. It's Christmas.
Many of these late game encounters, like ByteMe has to be quite careful because we have specters in here, which are difficult to see. And if you get hit with a charge, it's 150 damage.
Right.
It's significant. Very, very significant. I don't know the number off the top of my head though.
And now that he's got haste, you can see he's picked up even more speed, and he's not slowing down no matter who is spawning in. I gotta say, I know it's been said already, but the weapon switching and precision of knowing how much it takes per enemy is just hypnotizing to watch.
Yes, because they calculate the weapon spots too. Like, there's definitely patterns here, depending on what demon that ByteMe is encountering. You really do specifically note that whenever there's a fiber magnetist, and he has enough range to go with exactly what he wants to talk to. There's about 4 or 5 spots, every single one's calculated. Unless you've got a BFG. You know, click.
Call it the BFG for a reason. All right, so this is a really good boss fight as well. You know, the patterns on this are very tricky, and for a long time, this was the run ender, the phase 2 of the first part of the fight when the special attacks come out. Specifically, the fire tooth, where he'll slam on the ground and it'll be 3 random patterns, mostly because it is random, you know, and it took me a very long time to find out a way to avoid that altogether. But, you know, if you apply, like if you ever studied martial arts, whenever you identify that, you can just close the gap and go straight into his blind spot.
I remember you mentioning actually, I think yesterday, how you studied this fight quite extensively, right?
I did. A long time ago, I studied Krav Maga and Shaolin Chin Na. All right, we're gonna go into a phase, never mind. He's being very generous. There we go. But thankfully, we just skipped phase 2 of the fight. The beauty of the DK SMS, the amount of damage that you output is just unreal. These two can be very difficult to manage, and if you're first starting out, you always want to focus on the ranged guy, because he's going to be the one that's going to help you trivialize what's going on. So late game, with the penetration that you have, you want to just line them up. You know, things like your Gauss cannon.
Well played.
Thank you.
He initially got both of them down to glory kill state, but because the animation for the first one took long enough, he wasn't able to get to the second one, so got some health back.
Nice little bonus.
Isn't there an animation skip that?
Yeah, if you time it just right, so the other one's not in a glory kill until you are done with the first animation, and then you do like one shot and you're close enough to just go right into another glory kill, you can actually just get the first animation twice. Which doesn't really save any time, but it's cool to see.
There was something beautiful about seeing them both get like completely glory killable at the exact same time. Like their heads just kind of lower, and then he just has basically, you know, his king's pick of who he wants to take out first. That was nice.
All right, so now we get to go into Vega. Vega is what we would consider a cooldown stage, but that by no means means that we can treat it without respect. This is one of those few levels where combat rating can bite you at the very end. No pun intended. And it's happened. This stage has ended many runs because I've been, 5 to 10% away from completing combat rating. And it really has to do with respecting the power of the BFG. The way that the combat chest works is that there are enemies, demons, that will trigger the fight, and there's trash that will spawn while they're active. And so with the BFG, you can kill that trash along with the trigger enemies. And so it's a really good way to just harvest combat rating. But if you're overly efficient, that blessing quickly becomes a curse.
It's great that you get this dichotomy between like difficulty in speedrunning stages versus kind of doing it for your first time. Because I'd say like the most difficult fight in this game is the monorail for sure. Like
100%.
just I've seen people just get stuck on that for 4 or 5 hours.
We're gonna reload real quick because the imps got a little unruly there. There we go. Let me make sure that my secret persisted. It did. There we go. This is what we want right here. Oh, this is really what we want. Thank you. It's Christmas. Holy cow. And now we can finish off with the chainsaw. Easy peasy.
It's really amusing that both like 100% and 80% kind of restart the checkpoint there based on the M's patterns, but for totally different reasons. 80% does it to get the right pattern to go out of bounds, to skip everything, and 100% obviously just put up the kills better.
Security network offline.
All right, so we're in the second phase of this fight. We're just gonna clear the diagonal. Really fast and efficient way. Grab the switch while we're down here. Anything that wants to drain. Really, beautiful aspect of the game design for the arena fights is that once the trigger enemies are down, any of the trash demons will just work on making their way towards you. And I believe that is one of the founding principles of the push forward combat, if I'm not mistaken.
Operating systems are now vulnerable.
Just once the thing's done, clear the arena, flush it out so that the player can move on to the next.
I don't think I'm ever going to get tired of watching that.
I mean, the jump shot chainsaw has got to be unexpected from a demon's perspective. Not what you think would come out in midair, but it's a beautiful sight to behold.
I think I got him. I'm pretty sure I got him. Grab that chainsaw. All right, so we got an area coming up ahead that, if it's nice, we don't have to restart. But if it's not nice, then maybe once or twice. All right, there we go. We got our Gore pinata.
I couldn't help but read it. Good one.
So we used to take a UI penalty to hot swap over to that, and we no longer do that because we have the ability to get that mission challenge without the impact of swapping out runes. Because it's not just the swap to, but it's the swap back as well. Once equipment mastery is done, you don't need it anymore. Hello. Goodbye. And the cool thing about this is that we got a mega health coming up, so if we're fortunate, which we are not, we should be really close to mastering armor defensive. Just for grins, I'm probably going to take a look, make sure I didn't miss it. Nope, we still got a ways to go. We got one more mega health before we can swap that out.
Early tests of Vega's protoplasmic circuitry.
So these next few arenas, this one and the next one, they're critical for being able to finish this stage with full combat rating. So we're gonna allow some time for our friends the demons to spawn in. Only if they play nice. Don't want to lose my mega health. so we're gonna grab BFG rounds. Technically, there's still something alive, but we've got plenty of combat rating. Hey, what's up, buddy? Oh, we cleared the arena, but we're gonna skip over the field anyway.
Nice.
The train below will take you to the entrance.
So this is really good, really good. So typically 3/4 is what you aim for. We've got slightly over that on the 3rd combat rating. Now, the key is not fast phasing this next fight. So we're gonna clear the waves with BFGs. We're gonna just kind of watch our BFG ammo, let things saturate in, clear them a little at a time. If we're lucky, we'll end up with more BFG ammunition. If we're unlucky, we'll get hit and we'll lose our mega health. The armor from our mega health, that is. Alright, so
This right here is just perfect for showing how just mobile the entire cast of demons and the bestiary is in Doom 2016. Because you just think that you're safe, kind of sitting at the top there, and then you're getting tankies jumping at you, manky by.
perfect, perfect. We got it. And we're blessed with BFG. Thank you. Oh, man. Always an imp. Always going to be an imp. You know what? Let's drop down. Let's grab that. It's a good investment. So there is something still alive.
He's just scared.
It's very scared. It does not want to play with me. I'm very sad. There he is.
He heard you and decided to prove it, though.
All right, perfect. So we got our combat rating. Now we're going to grab this. Unfortunately, this ammo box doesn't fill you all the way up to the top. It only partially does. So we're going to do our elevator skip here, and we're just going to use the haste to kind of run up, because this is much faster than riding on the lift.
Destination set to the well's location. Now use the crucible.
When you're given power-ups, I'm sure it's tricky to use the routing in that you have to save it until the very end for just mobility. Like, how long did it take to figure out, say, some of the encounters with the Berserk pack, where you would delay it and move at the end?
It took a long time. Once you master, you know, what's the trigger enemies, where everything spawns, or, you know, how a certain fight goes, then you can, you know, neglect certain power-ups like that. But it was definitely a long time before I was able to just go at it. And I'd say, you know, doing the more difficult runs, you know, like pistol only, no upgrades on Ultra Nightmare, those really taught me a lot about the game. And after putting in the time to clear those, that's when I was really able to say, oh, hey, you know, I don't need that anymore. I didn't use it last time, don't need it this time. Especially when you move back to something like 100%, where, you know, at around level 5 or 6, you're just an unstoppable force. All right, so this is it. It's the final stage.
Already.
So we got 3 weapons that we're going to have to master. We still have a rune that needs to get done, and we've got 1 auto map for the Codice completion, or Codex completions. Spider Mastermind technically counts for that, but we'll be doing an in-screen verification beforehand, so we'll go over all that then. All right, so gotta get micro missiles, Gatling rotator. All of these are saved for the end of the run for a reason. In Ultra Nightmare, you have no way of validating whether or not you got a clear after you complete it. So we always make sure that we have our completion screen fully done before the final glory kill. Oh, that's so generous. Thank you. All right. Waiting for my good friends, the Hell Knights, to show up. What's up, buddies? All right, so what's going on downstairs is actually really tricky, but we're purposely letting the summoner get away with whatever it wants to, because it's going to help us with our combat rating later on. I see you up there.
always thought this is one of the more interesting arenas too, how they give you so many teleporter options coming out in patterns at first that you really don't expect.
There are some real sick skill shots that you can get by Gauss boosting into the portals and whatnot, especially when you have high velocity coming out of that one. You can do some really interesting shots.
Or just stick on the fast glory kill runes, grab that berserk back, and go to town.
Oh yeah.
You make a good point, though. It's funny. I was talking to Zelo in the audience earlier, and I'd never thought about specifically that rune of faster glory kills for speedruns, but that's everything when you're in that dire situation where maybe you can't wait for an actual health pickup and you just need it.
Yeah.
That saves a lot of precious time, I feel like.
Getting stuck in that animation is very scary when you're getting projectiles and attacks coming afterwards.
All right, well, here's our last auto map of the game. And this right here is called the Liberate Jump because it has a high likelihood of liberating your Ultra Nightmare run. Ah, sweets. Now we get to enjoy the Alpha Rune combination.
It's everything you ever dreamed of.
Going into the first of 3 major arenas on this one.
There we go. All right, so we're going to try to do something called a short circuit where we kill both of the demons. There we go, we got it. So we've now phased into the second part of this fight, and the pinkies are going to spawn in along with the remaining revenants that need to spawn in. Lost souls are up. That's the final phase of the fight, and we're just going to continue combing it. And there you go, it's done. Job's done. And we get all this beautiful BFG that's on the other side of the arena.
That was extremely clean.
I don't think there's anything more excessive in any game than quad BFG.
Such a good guy.
So you were mentioning, ByteMe, that once you had a run that got to this level and there was like one item that you couldn't pick up and that like messed up your combat rating and like reset the run? Like what happened there?
Oh man. Let me think about what that even was.
You try to block it out.
Yeah, you know, those are terrible memories. Oh, okay. So yeah, actually, what it was is a mission challenge. There have been several runs that have prematurely ended here at the finish line, but the very final mission challenge that you will get, and it's done by design that way, is hold still. You have to kill 2 Barons of Hell with 1 shot, and Barons of Hell don't spawn in until the final arena, and there is an interesting feature, I will call it, where Hell Knights and Barons can have a massive amount of health to where they can survive a direct hit BFG shot, multiple direct hit BFG shots, but that happened in that run. And you know, once you miss that opportunity, there's no going back in Ultra Nightmare. You're done. All right, so we got 5 Cyber Mancubi that we're going to do. We're going to, you know, take it kind of easy, let them spawn in. We're going to continue to reap the demons that are spawning in. That way we can bolster our combat rating. Continue to clean up the trash. Running kind of low on BFG here, guys. All right, none for you in the corner. Yes.
Trying to recall the last time you actually took damage. It's been pretty insane. Like it's just been very hard.
All right, last time you talked about this,
I was just
we
thinking
learned
the
a
same
lesson.
thing.
Yeah, but now things are gonna be different.
We hope so.
Yep.
You can never tell with me.
This is it.
If it does happen, I'll never speak again.
Oh no. Now I have to try hard.
Exactly.
Just fly home tomorrow and you never.
All right, we're coming up to the final Wraith Arena. This is where things get really interesting because this is where, you know, things can go well and they can go very poorly. The RNG of ammo boost really affects how quickly you can kill the Spider Mastermind. If you go into the fight with 2 BFG, it's infinitely easier than if you go in with less. Because with 2, you can take advantage of the BFG's debuff trait, where it increases the incoming damage for whatever's directly hit by it. So the idea is you do that twice. What's up, guys?
Oh no.
Oh, I need that. Oh, whatever, I'll make deal with it. Gotta be very careful here. Those pinkies like jumping up right there and just swallowing your BFG. What's up, buddy?
Oh no.
So we're gonna fire off another round here. We wanna save at least 1 round. Oh, hey. Perfect. So we're gonna take advantage of this teleporter just to get us back over to our favorite spots. We're gonna continue to comb the arena. There we go. All right, so Incubus phase is in. We can fire off the last one. We're gonna use this guy right here. Now, interesting fact, BFG tendrils do not count for this challenge, and it's requires a real delicate setup in order to be able to get it with the siege mode. But that quad damage, saving it for last, almost guarantees that you're going to get it. So good news, we got 2 BFG. Let's go squish a spider. I don't know why she's laughing. She's about to have a really bad day.
Actually, what, the last 2 hours and 40 minutes?
No, she was somehow busy outrunning the Doomslayer, which is beyond me.
She was the greatest speedrunner of all, really.
She really is.
And her reward is, well, this.
Losing what looks to be her spleen and turning into a spider.
See if it lasts longer than 7 seconds, like the Cyber Demon.
And here it comes. Really is one of the boss battles that just, I think everyone was kind of expecting to see it, but when you see it, you still can't not get excited. Just seeing it in all its glory like this was, yeah, a great moment.
And again, adding the phases to bosses being such a new thing other than just the verticality in 2016, I mean, it made you remember specifically every battle, every portion, every segment. So we've got platforms spawning in, which is a new, completely new mechanic for this. And it looks like BFG ammo conservation is being perfectly done here.
All right, so now we're gonna wait. We're gonna let the spider summon a little pillar. There you go. Now we're gonna kill it. Okay, so I'm gonna ask everybody to, if for any reason we forgot anything, just put on your imagination hats. We're gonna do our verification check right now. All right, we got 11, that's good. Everything's done. That means we did all challenges, secrets, whatnot. We got golds all across the board. Golds all across the board. Let's take a whirl around the wheel. There we go there. And then finally the codices. 25, 99, 27, 35, 16. Our last codex is coming up right here. So we did successfully get 100% Nightmare.
Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, keep that round of applause going for ByteMe, who just absolutely destroyed Doom 2016, and that final BFG shot's going to be the death sentence. Anything you want to say while you're there, ByteMe?
Yeah, I want to give some very special thanks to my wife and my children. Thank you so much for allowing me to do this. I wouldn't be here without your support. I want to thank my mentors, Nick from Canada. You're probably not watching this, but you helped shape my life. Klockner, Zomeister, Phenomenon, you guys are great. Shout out to my good friend Red Warrior, Hars.exe, Tricky Dog, I love all you guys, everyone in the community, anyone's name I didn't mention. You know, I love you guys. Thank you for coming in, hanging out, offering up all these ideas. You know, it's really a team effort, you know, so thank you.
That was a good, just short of 3 hours, wasn't it, Tokyo?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy so far. Everybody today, they set a goal and they basically crushed and made it look beautiful. So again, a round of applause for everybody so far. We've got Zila, we've got BT right here, and we've also got, of course, none other than King Dime and ByteMe. One more round of applause before we switch it up and do something totally nutty.
Yeah, so up next is going to be, well, finally, all 4 of you guys get to play and do something extremely special. It's going to be the world's first Doom Eternal race of the build that is here to play at Quakecon, whether it's in London, whether it's here. It's the same one that you've all been taking part in as well, and they're going to get everything set up and good to go. Thank you all so much for joining us so far. It's been one hell of a day, but we have one final challenge left. This is QuakeCon. This is the Year of Doom. See you in a few minutes, and we'll be back after a short